buying. It's easy, convenient, takes only minutes, and walks you through the entire buying process. You can even estimate payments and trade-in values. Plus, you'll see all current offers and incentives and all applicable fees. Your new vehicle is only a few clicks away. A Silverado, Colorado, Camaro, even a Cruze. Try the Spark or the revolutionary Chevy Volt. Try Shop Click and Drive between now and March 31st and get a coupon for 15% off any car or truck accessory in stock. Eggs are cheaper in the country, and so are cars and trucks at GarrityCars.com. Shop Click and Drive today. Offer expires March 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers.
Pacific Continental Bank is proud to call the Eugene-Springfield area home for more than 40 years. As your local banker, partner, and neighbor, we are committed to the health and sustainability of your business and our community. We know it takes more than a loan or deposit to help you succeed. It takes people who know you, your business, and your community. Who says we can't be more than a bank? Pacific Continental Bank, the right bank. Learn more at therightbank.com. Member FDIC.
Having trouble with those last few pounds? Or maybe you just need a boost of energy? Get to Max Muscle for Emerge. The taste is awesome, there's tons of flavors, and it's buy one, get one half off during the month of March. It's only at Max Muscle, 2001 Franklin Boulevard in Eugene.
Ramjack leads the way in foundation repair. Protect your investment. Get your free in-home evaluation at ramjackwest.com. Check out our exceptional online reviews, then choose Ramjack.
CCB 146906.
That's another home run for Oregon.
Precision counts, whether it's a big game on the line or your quality of life.
I had excruciating pain in my cheek and jaw, a condition called trigeminal neuralgia. My doctor recommended Sacred Heart Gamma Knife Center.
The physicians used highly focused, precise radiation beams to target the nerve. Game over for Mary's pain in just a few weeks. If you have a brain tumor or episodes of severe facial pain, ask your primary doctor or specialist about Gamma Knife. Visit peacehealth.org/Gamma Knife to learn more.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open, don't speak with your mouth full, keep your elbows off the table. Share your things, play nice, and generally treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit tunein2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. More Americans are seeking jobless benefits, but last week's filings for unemployment aid rose less than economists forecast. They were up by 6,000 to 265,000. And orders for durable goods slipped almost 3% in February, but again, that was less than what economists had been projecting. U.S. stock futures are falling, with the S&P 500 on track to halt its fifth weekly streak of gains. Oil-related companies are declining in pre-market trading, tracking oil prices lower. Right now, crude is down 2% at just under $39 a barrel. Yahoo is up slightly, less than 1%, after activist investor Starboard Value nominated 9 members for the Yahoo board, saying Yahoo has refused to embrace the need for change. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 is headed for its biggest monthly advance since October, rising 5.4%. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
This is your wake-up call.
It's like no cheese I've ever tasted.
News Radio 1120, KPNW.
628 News Radio 1120 KPNW. We'll throw it out there for you. 1120kpnw at gmail.com if you have a passing comment about something that is discussed, or maybe a segment idea for the future. Help us a little brainstorming. There's something in your community that you want to alert everybody. Maybe you've got like the kick butt Easter egg search celebration at your fill in the blank, or you know of one. We'll be talking about those tomorrow. Give all the parents and the grandparents kind of a heads up what's happening this weekend. If you heard Chris Nation, might have to get the galoshes out.
Did you just say Easter egg? Did you just use the phrase, the word Easter?
I did.
Oh, man.
Almost deliberately.
Wow. Rob said Easter, everybody.
Yeah, make sure everybody knows that it
what
was me that said it.
What was it they said in the one thing that was here locally? They were calling it like the spring something or other.
Spring celebration. Spheres.
The what?
Wasn't it something, didn't it have to do with spheres?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you're right. It was spheres. The what was the spring sphere collection something or other? It was just like, what the hell?
You know, I think about the people that come, you know, because one thing when you go to a different country, I don't know about you, but it's fun to immerse yourself in the history and go and kind of figure out, what are they all about? What are we missing from, you know, TV shows and blah that we can experience on our own? For people that come here and want to kind of check out the history and kind of see what, you know, what this country, this young country is all about, they better do it pretty quick. Because I have a feeling that if you look at, you know, I mean, to the point that, I'm getting way off track, but, you know, Lee Circle, Robert E. Lee, down in New Orleans, is, and I lost track with it, but there was a segment of people that wanted to have that taken down. And you sit there and you go, when you start, you know, you start infringing on, and I understand what the arguments are, but if we just, you know, whitewash everything, because if you look a round or two behind, you know, you can get any story and follow, you know, corruption or, you know, wrongdoing of some nature. So why don't we just, you know, anyway.
Well, I mean, it's this
Easter.
It's this whole thing of erasing tradition and history, and they're trying to do it over at the University of Oregon with B.D. Hall.
Yep.
You know,
great example.
Because we don't like some of the things he did. Okay. So that's too bad. You don't like some of the things he did. Well, welcome to life. Life is messy. People are not consistent.
And if you've got...
They have, every single human being on the planet has faults and flaws. You know? I mean, really. If you want to get into it, take a look at some of the flaws, say, of Martin Luther King. Now, there's a guy who is roundly held up as one of the heroes of the 1960s. He had his faults. Abraham Lincoln, I mean, if you actually look at
he was the first one that came to mind.
If you actually look at some of the things he did as president of the United States, they were not constitutional by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I mean, if you're going to go down that route, then you might just as well name everything building A, B, C, and D.
Right, exactly.
But don't name it F, because that has a bad connotation.
I'm already worked up. I already have sweaty palms thinking about that. You know, we just need to kind of, you know, you don't have to be a jerk about things, but just toughen up. Just have a backbone.
Like the story that I sent you. What university is that again? Was it Emory or Rutgers? I sent the story to you this morning.
Emory.
Yeah. All right, did you hear what happened at Emory University? This just amazes me. So somebody went around, or a number of people went around campus and in chalk wrote the word Trump. Okay, they wrote the word Trump.
Chalk. So it's not spray paint.
Right.
You can easily, you know, in the first or second rain, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, it's in chalk. All right. But you know how threatening chalk can be. You mentioned that this
morning.
I'm
talking about chalk dust. You breathe it in.
I have to agree with you. Anyway, they wrote it in chalk. And so a number of students decided that they needed to picket the university because they were frightened.
They did not feel safe.
They did not feel safe, that it frightened them because people had written Trump. I'm trying to find the article here real quick. So yeah, there's one of the great photographs is it's on the ground in white chalk, the word Trump, and it's underlined.
They needed safe spaces.
Yes, they needed safe spaces. And they said, it's our duty to fight for our freedom. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains, because somebody wrote Trump in chalk. Jim Wagner, the president of the university in Atlanta, writes the Washington Post, met with protesters and later sent an email to the campus community explaining in part, due to our conversation, they voiced their genuine concern and pain in the face of this perceived intimidation. They wrote Trump. I feel so intimidated. Okay, they felt intimidated because somebody had written Trump in chalk. Let's just compare those to other 19, 20-year-olds of the past. Let's see. Okay, so they're needing a safe space and feel intimidated because somebody wrote Trump in chalk on some sidewalks and stairs around the campus. I wonder how intimidated the 19-year-olds of the 1940s were when they were wandering onto a beach in France and getting the hell shot out of them by the Nazis. I wonder how intimidated they were when they were running up a hill somewhere in Korea and saw the Chinese coming up over the draw in the thousands running towards. I wonder if they needed safe space. I wonder how the 19-year-olds of, say, the 1960s felt when they were running through a rice paddy as the Viet Cong were opening fire on them. And these people, these 19-year-olds, are feeling like they need a safe space and they're intimidated because somebody wrote Trump in chalk? What a bunch of self-interested, self-entitled wimps. What are they going to be like when they actually get out into the real world? I mean, is it fair right now to say that if you're one of those 19-year-olds that would feel intimidated by somebody writing Trump in chalk in your particular environment, would it be fair to say to you at this point, would you feel intimidated if I said, get a damn helmet? Life is hard. And when you get out into the real world, it's going to get real. And it's going to get real tough. And secondly, what would it be like to have somebody like that in your work environment? That because somebody maybe comes in one day wearing a Trump t-shirt or, you know, has a meme on their office door that maybe has Trump on it, is that going to make them lose their mind and need to run down to HR to complain that they're feeling like that somebody is trampling on their precious feelings because the word Trump? God. What a bunch of simps. Who are these people's parents, by the way? Because you got to figure that came from somewhere. Who raises their kids like that?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's society, though. As a whole,
where are they? I mean, wouldn't you if I know if Brady came home and said something like that, it'd be like, okay, you think you're feeling threatened by the word Trump written on a sidewalk? You're going to be really uncomfortable about the things I'm going to tell you next. I hope that you maybe have your plastic pants on, because it's not going to be pretty. I mean,
I know where you're going.
Okay, if Sid, at one point or another, when she gets older, comes home and says,
we've already had in our proportionate, world, we've already had that discussion.
Well, when somebody wrote,
people are going to do stuff, and you just have to.
Somebody wrote Kardashian on the sidewalk, and her presidency makes me feel threatened.
All right, this discussion is going to be ongoing, as it's been ongoing. So we got a break. and talk to Kevin, a terrorism expert, kind of in the same light. Coming up next on 1120 KPNW.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Chris with Home Comfort. When we say the one to call,
the one means no matter what the problem.
From security lighting, generator systems, panel changeouts, service upgrades, with technicians available 24/7.
Or HVAC, from routine cleanings to breakdowns. Home Comfort's locally supported by Mitsubishi Electric. So their Mitsubishi Electric factory-trained technicians will ready your house for any season.
Make one call to 541-345-2838.
Home Comfort. One to call.
It's finally happened. The best real estate market in a decade. Low inventory coupled with low interest rates equals top dollar for your house in today's market. If you want to sell within your time frame and get the most money possible, now is the time.
Harpole Real Estate with Keller Williams will ensure a stress-free move for you. Not all agents are the same. In fact, Eric, Jeanette, and their team outsell all other agents and teams in Lane County. Since 2009, they've helped 150 more families sell and move than the number 2 agent. The reason? Better marketing and better negotiating. And unlike other agents, they offer flexible commissions. Their exclusive enhanced listing program, and if you're not happy, fire them. You are in control.
Call for a free no-pressure consultation, 546-286-3030, or at harpolehomes.com. If you live in Douglas County, Harpole Real Estate can help you too. Now you have a real estate team that can get your home sold. 541-286-3030.
Oh, it's another Thirsty Thursday today. I'm Bill London of the KPNW Wake Up Call, inviting you to join me from 4 to 7 at Sam's Place on Franklin Boulevard. Thirsty Thursday is about tasting some great Widmer craft brews and sampling some other great Northwest beers. And we'll have plenty of prizes, including tickets to see James Taylor, The Cure, and more. Free eats from Burrito Amigos, Northwest Burgers, and more. And it's today from 4 to 7. So let's hoist a stein and maybe get ready for a big Ducks game tonight. It's at Sam's Place on Franklin Boulevard. I'm Bill London, and I approve this message.
Not available in California. Here's a great idea for a business. Health food in vending machines. Who doesn't want healthier choices? Imagine the money you could make. Well, guess what? The guys at Fresh Healthy Vending have already thought of it, which explains why they're the #1 healthy vending franchise, with thousands of franchisee-owned vending machines offering people what they want most, healthier snacks. Could you be our next new franchisee? Because we've identified high-traffic locations and have machines ready to be installed in your community, this is your chance for full or part-time income. Most of our franchisees work fewer than 15 hours a week, and many are so impressed with the money they're making that they've added even more machines to their business. And we do all the work for you. We procure high-foot traffic locations, train you, install your machines, and deliver thousands of best-selling natural, organic, and healthy snacks and drinks nationwide. So go to readyforfresh.com right now. Type in promo code 4646 and receive an immediate 50% savings on franchise fees. That's right, we'll pay half of new franchisees' fees. That's promo code 4646. Again, readyforfresh.com 4646.
The Wake Up Call.
To be honest, I've never seen such dysfunction.
With Holloway in London. On News Radio 1120 KPNW.
News Radio 1120 KPNW. All right. Well, we were talking about threats just before and people feeling threatened just before the break. So how's this for a threat? Hundreds, they're saying now, of ISIS fighters are likely in Europe. They figure about 400 are deployed, between actually 400 and 600 Islamic State fighters are deployed throughout Europe to carry out what they're kind of referring to as semi-autonomous terror strikes throughout the area. To talk about that this morning, he is a terrorism expert. He's a global security expert. He's the president of Erase Enterprises. Kevin Malat joining us on the Wake Up Call. Kevin, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. I guess, the first question I ask here is, that's when they're saying 400, that's a pretty specific number. How do they know that? What is the source of this particular information? How can they say specifically, well, we know there's 400 of them out there running around? Because if you know something that specific, it would imply you also know where they are potentially.
Well, yeah, and I think, I don't know exactly where they came up with the number, but in the past, what I've seen happen is when we pick up guys off the battlefield as prisoners or they defect, and we've had a lot of defections from ISIL in the last couple of months, you'll get information from them that, they were coming up and taking certain individuals out of their unit, who had good experience and put them in a special training program or putting them to a new assignment. So I would suggest, like the one American that defected the other day from ISIL and went to the Kurds and gave himself up, they're probably extracting information from interrogations of people captured or who have defected from ISIL regarding a special mission assignment and training. And this is kind of interesting because, you know, it's real scary, but it's also interesting. From a terrorist perspective, most terrorist groups, if we think of like the ETA and the IRA and the FARC and all these groups in the past, they operated covertly, but ISIL is the first one to get into a head-to-head military combat role with other nation states and actually has taken over and held turf. Now, the situation from that that's unique is they now have thousands and thousands of battlefield-hardened combatants who they can now put back into the covert roles of a typical terrorist approach, and they've got great experience. You know, in the past, your covert terrorists didn't have a whole lot of battlefield experience or a lot of knowledge of weapons and explosives. This is going to be a major game changer when they bring these veterans of combat into the covert roles and sprinkle them around civilian areas.
All right, so how are these particular individuals getting into these particular countries? I mean, are they just walking in, or are they coming in as Syrian refugees?
Yeah, that too. They're number one, they're just walking in, and number two, they're coming in with a Syrian refugee flow that was just totally crazy with, you know, no backgrounds on anybody, and they just simply overwhelm the area. I mean, if most Americans think about it, if you're trying to go to a country for asylum, you don't fight with the police, climb over barricades, and do criminal activity. And a tremendous amount of these knockdown, drag-out civil disturbances with the quote-unquote refugees involve males in the ages of 18 to 30 years old who should have been back fighting for their own country, and they were coming into Europe. So we obviously got a lot of actors that came in with that flow. But in the big picture, Europe has really lightened up in the past years. When they became the European Union, they dropped the secured borders and dropped the requirement for passports to go country to country. So the minute you land on a beach anywhere in the Mediterranean and start walking, you're in. That's it.
All right. Can we make any extrapolations from these numbers and the situation in Europe to the situation of what might be occurring or potentially in the offing here in the United States?
Yeah, I think we're going to see the same thing. It's just we'll see it in the right time order from their point of view. They know that we have better intelligence, better capacity to strike back than the other countries in Europe do. So there's no reason to come kicking the sleeping, the lion, so to speak. They'll do a lot of activity in Europe first, where it's easier to carry it out and easier to not be discovered. But they are coming to the U.S. Director Comey of the FBI has, stated publicly we've got open investigations in all 50 states. Over 90 people associated with ISIL have been arrested in the last year from carrying out attacks or going to carry out attacks. And then we've had the attacks were carried out where people died in the process. So we're not going to be on the fringe. We're going to be main target. But I believe it'll be after they get done roughing up Europe pretty extensively, because it's a lot easier to carry out the attacks there and not get caught. And the second point here, real quick, is because they're battlefield individuals, they'll do attacks and then leave and then do another one the following week. And the incident in Paris is a good example. You got a guy that was involved in Paris. He leaves, hangs out for 3 months, and now he's back at it again and blows himself up in Brussels. We're going to see that repetitive attack over and over from the same people, because the battlefield-trained guys know how to engage in combat and leave and then fight again another day.
Are there any areas in the United States, and I know the prevailing theory is, it's only going to be in the metropolitan areas where these things happen, the major metro areas. Are there other areas of concerns that you know of in the United States where regionally, for whatever reason, it seems to be more active for this kind of, if you will, activity? Or
well, certainly we have certain areas of the U.S. where we've had a tremendously high population of disenfranchised individuals that align themselves with Islamic fundamentalism and a little bit of extremism. Around Minneapolis, Minnesota, you've got a very strong community that's had a lot of individuals that have gone back to the Middle East and are communicating on a regular basis. We don't have the enclave structure that they've seen in Europe, where they actually take over an entire neighborhood and even the local authorities don't deal with them. So we don't have that yet, but we do have some areas where we've got concentrated groups that are disenfranchised, high unemployment, ethnic groups that don't assimilate well into our culture and our lifestyle. So we got the potential for that, but it's not as high as it is in Europe, where it's actually a factor of reality every day.
All right. Well, Kevin, we'd love to speak to you longer. Realize you've got another engagement. Thanks for joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much.
All right, you take care. Kevin Malott. He's a terrorism expert with Erase Enterprises, also involved in international security, and joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning. It is 6:49. Oh, and so we transition from your worst international nightmare to a dreamy night's sleep. Somehow that just seems appropriate, doesn't it? Nah, not really. Anyway, if you've not been to Sleep Train, here's why you need to go in. If you need a new mattress. You go in because, number one, unlike a lot of places, they're going to help you. And when I say help you, I don't mean they're going to say, oh, you might like that one over there. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions about what it is you want in terms of a mattress. Then they're going to suggest you take the free test lay, actually several of them, to find the mattress that is going to bring you the most comfort. And I'm not talking about, oh, okay, I'm going to lay down on this thing for 30 seconds. Yeah, that feels good. Let's get it. Let's bring it home. We're talking about it takes several hours to find a mattress. I know when I went in, it took a couple of hours of wandering around, and the guy was like, you know what? Go out, grab a bite to eat, come back, and then think about which one you want, which I did. Ended up with the Tempur-Pedic Cloud Luxe, and I love it. It has the adjustable base. It is awesome. And I get great nights sleep, or have had great nights of sleep, and I'm looking forward to more great nights of sleep on that mattress.
We talk about Tempur-Pedic because we like it, and it is the most highly recommended bed in America. Serta Eye Comfort, it's a mattress with a 98% satisfaction rating from people that have slept on Serta Eye Comfort. So it's going to be maybe one that we don't talk about or you don't even know about until you go there and find out the bed of your dreams can be in your bedroom tonight. Triple choice sale going on, but ending soon in Eugene, Springfield, Corvallis, and Salem. And tell them you're like this with the Wake Up Call.
When you take the train, there's no telling what adventures await you. But that didn't stop us from speculating. Okay, Ben, you tell me what you do aboard Amtrak Cascades. I tell you how your seemingly innocuous decisions ultimately alter the course of your entire existence. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, on the train, do you A, order food, or B, get a drink?
Get a drink.
Nice. Coffee or beer?
Beer me.
Ooh, someone catches your eye. Say hello or find your seat?
Say hello.
She's a Beaver fan. I noticed you're wearing a duck hat.
Ugh.
Deal breaker or get her number?
Yeah, sure, get her number.
You get her digits. After 6 months of dating, you adopt a rescue dog and you name her Pork Chop. And 4 months later, you propose on the jumbo screen at the Civil War. She spills her drink on you. Boo. But says yes. Yay.
Whoa.
Yeah, want to know your kids' names? Amtrak Cascades. See what happens from Eugene to Portland for less than $20 one way. Start your adventure at Amtrak.com/see what happens. Restrictions may apply.
Tune in to Real Estate Today, weekdays at 5:30 p.m.
I'm Bob Nelson, real estate investment broker and exchange specialist. Cascade Exchange Services is my choice for completing tax-deferred exchanges. Megan McMahon, who's a CPA, is my choice of the person to handle my tax-deferred exchanges. It's a locally owned company. They do business on a nationwide basis, same-day document preparation, and she's always available for free and very excellent consultation. Contact Megan at Cascade Exchange Services.
I'm Gary Conley with today's Money Minute. 12 of the 23 federally funded health insurance co-ops, including Cover Oregon, are gone after spending $1.2 billion of federal money and leaving thousands of doctors unpaid. The trend of merging insurance companies that either partner with or acquire hospitals continues, leaving the theory of creating more competition by setting up state co-ops looking a lot like roadkill. The most likely outcome is that more will fail as taxpayers' losses continue to mount. Cover Oregon is the poster child for this abject failure, as the legal battle between Oracle and the state rages on, with both parties attempting to dodge blame and financial responsibility for the failed exchange. The state has spent $6.3 million on legal fees so far. Here's the nugget. It also seems unlikely that any of the $305 million the federal government spent in Oregon will be recovered. But the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services have indicated that they will seek reimbursement, though from just who is unclear. I suppose Oracle could be forced to pay, and the company certainly has the money, as do the Oregon taxpayers if it comes to that. All in all, it's another example of your government at its finest. The foregoing information was lifted from J.L. Jones & Associates, a Eugene-based employee benefits consultant. The opinions, of course, are mine. I'm Gary Conley, and that's today's Money Minute.
I won't mention any names, but their initials are
Holloway in London. The Wake Up Call. News Radio 1120 KPNW.
The International Champions Cup is coming this summer. Experience world-class soccer when French champions Paris Saint-Germain take on Inter Milan in a clash of two of the top teams in Europe. July 24th, Autzen Stadium. Get tickets early by signing up for the exclusive pre-sale at internationalchampionscup.com. Don't miss this chance to see the best soccer players in the world. Paris Saint-Germain versus Inter Milan, July 24th, Autzen Stadium. Get tickets before the general public by signing up at internationalchampionscup.com. Don't miss it. Northwest Burger inside the 5th Street Market features burgers so amazing they're an experience all their own. Freshly ground meat and local produce combined with the creativity of local chef Garrett Kirsch makes for a burger experience like no other. You'll get mouth-watering goodness in every single bite. Check out their menu and photos on Facebook. Northwest Burger, located in the 5th Street Market. It's not just a burger, it's an experience.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are falling as commodity shares track a slide in oil prices this morning. Right now, the Dow is down 95 points at 17,407. The S&P 500 is lower by 13, or almost 0.7% at 2023. And the Nasdaq is down 31 at 47.37. Crude is lower by 3.4% at $38.44 a barrel. Shares of Yahoo are down about 1.5%. Activist investor Starboard Value nominated 9 members for the Yahoo board, saying the company has refused to embrace the need for change. Yahoo says that the board's nominating and governance committee will review the proposed director nominees and respond in due course. More Americans are seeking jobless benefits, but last week's filings for unemployment aid rose less than what economists had been forecasting. They were up by 6,000 to 265,000. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
Security experts are once again debating security procedures at airports in the aftermath of the Brussels attack. The issue this time isn't what happens once passengers get to security checkpoints inside. It's about security outside, between the curbside drop-off areas and the inner terminals. One expert, a former head of security for El Al, claims that security is largely ignored in those areas. Another security expert says that airports are just too big to be completely secure. They're like any other large public space, like subway stations or shopping malls, and they can't really be protected. Now, inevitably, the discussion turns to Israeli security in Tel Aviv. All cars are stopped on the way into the airport. License plates are scanned, and in some cases, armed guards conduct searches. And there's another key component. Political correctness is tossed aside. Travelers are profiled and questioned about their plans, their background, and their luggage. The West has larger airports and millions of travelers. Some of the layers of security used in Israel would be very difficult to sell here. But despite repeated attacks, liberals worldwide refuse to come to grips with the basic fact of modern-day terrorism, and that's who's behind it. Democrats like Obama and Hillary Clinton cannot even mouth the words radical Islamic terrorism. Profiling is not even an option. So 15 years after the 9/11 attacks, liberals refuse to connect the dots, and as a result, innocent people are still being massacred, and there's no end in sight to it. Are you looking forward to your tax refund? Well, so are identity thieves. You see, all identity thieves need to file a fake tax return is your social security number and your date of birth. And even if you're not getting a refund, identity thieves can use the information on your tax documents to commit other crimes. And it can happen long after tax season. You think free credit monitoring will help you? Well, free credit monitoring will not do anything to help fix an identity theft problem, whether it's tax-related or not. But LifeLock will. If you are a victim of identity theft, LifeLock's U.S.-based team of specialists will work to resolve your case, so you can have peace of mind all year long. Now, that's something to look forward to. Memberships start just $9.99 a month, plus applicable tax. Call 800-440-4833. Visit lifelock.com. Now, use the promo code RUSH.
Radio 1120 KPNW, Eugene, Springfield, USA.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. They just held another minute of silence in Brussels, 2 days after the airport and subway bombings that killed 31 and injured more than 200.
We want to salute the dignity of the Belgian people.
That's Belgium's Prime Minister. Fox's Jessica Gallagher is live in Brussels.
Dave, Belgium's Prime Minister Charles Michel saying the violence here on Tuesday has targeted the liberty of daily life and the liberty upon which the European Union project was built. Michel adding during his national morning speech that the country has been hit in its heart. Meanwhile, state media report officials are searching for a second suspect in Tuesday's subway bombing. Increased security can be seen at the entrances to metros and train stations. Brussels International Airport remains closed until at least Saturday. Dave.
Jessica, there are conflicting reports about Iraqi forces launching an operation to take a city back from ISIS. Fox's Alistair Wanklin live in our Asia Bureau.
The Iraqi government forces gearing up to try to retake the city of Mosul, but a U.S. official telling Fox they are still 70 miles away, and in strength they are not nearly the 36,000 troops that would be needed to take Iraq's second largest city. U.S. warplanes are helping in so-called shaping operations to prepare for a possible assault, and meanwhile about 200 U.S. Marines are manning a howitzer unit nearby where one American was killed Saturday in a rocket strike. Dave?
Alistair, President Obama is in Argentina, where he has laid wreaths at a monument honoring those killed in a 1976 military coup.
This marks a tribute to their memory.
7 Iranians with ties to their government are facing computer hacking charges. Federal prosecutors allege they infiltrated a dam in 2013 in Rye Brook, New York, probing the system but never actually taking control of the dam. They're still cleaning all the snow, 2 feet of it dumped around Denver, stranding drivers on roads and at the airport. The snow is still coming down over to Michigan. This woman in Wisconsin calls it
absolutely ridiculous. It's spring, not winter.
This is Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit
ignition.
And
then
nothing. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite.
Look out! Look out!
And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
There's some selling this morning on Wall Street. Fox Business Network's Nicole Petalides live at the New York Stock Exchange.
Some weak numbers on durable goods and the core number in particular weighing on markets. A strong dollar also weighing on the markets. In fact, we're seeing the Dow down 3 days in a row right now, losing 77 points at 17,424. The Nasdaq down 17, the S&P 500 down 10. All 10 sectors are lower. Energy, materials, financials all weighing. A couple of movers for you. TiVo up more than 20% in talks to be bought by Roby, according to the New York Times. And finish line is down about 2% after profit sank. American Airlines under pressure, and a winner is Philip Van Heusen after it did well with Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. Dave.
Thank you, Nicole. The price of oil has been down this morning more than $1, back under $39 a barrel. Gas is 2 cents pricier. AAA's national average is back over $2 a gallon, $2.01, rising more than 30 cents the past 30 days. A JetBlue flight attendant has landed in trouble for what she tried to bring on a plane.
A JetBlue flight attendant accused of trying to smuggle nearly 70 pounds of cocaine through a security checkpoint at the Los Angeles airport, due in Brooklyn federal court on Thursday. Marcia Gay Reynolds turned herself into federal authorities Wednesday. It was the first time she'd been seen since last Friday, when the feds say, picked at random for secondary TSA screening, she dropped her carry-on bag, kicked off her Gucci heels, and fled. In that carry-on, police found just over 68 pounds of cocaine, about $750,000 worth. Reynolds faces trafficking charges, which could lead to life in prison. Jack Callahan, Fox News.
We're getting verdicts out of The Hague. UN judges say former Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic was responsible for crimes against humanity, including murder and persecution in Bosnia. One of 2 principal charges that he faced, however, Karadzic was acquitted of a first account of genocide in connection with municipalities in another area. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News Radio.
Hey, good morning. Pull up a chair and a warm beverage. We got a Thursday in full flight. Coming up, we're going to talk with a couple of candidates. One wants to be your congresswoman and another wants to be a senator. So it's the candidate hour coming up. If you have any questions whatsoever, 1120kpnw at gmail.com. Probably the best route to go if you want to get in on the discussion with a question or two. Coming up, Jory Perkins and Sam Carpenter. Later in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll talk with Gary and, of course, Carrie Miller from Bleacher Report's going to kind of preview and talk a little Oregon basketball. Coming up later today, we've got this is going to be like a busy day. Okay, you got your party in the form of a show, and then we'll take the party on the road.
Yeah. Got a couple of things. Congratulations to the gang at Gateway Medical. We're going to be delivering some Umpqua ice cream out in the direction.
Pleasant Hill. I'm trying to figure out where would they be?
They're Gateway in Springfield.
Oh, Gateway. Okay.
Yeah, they're over there. You might have heard of Gateway in Springfield.
The SPR.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to go over there. Thanks to Mike and the gang for nominating themselves for that for some ice cream.
What kind of ice cream are you bringing?
The usual vanilla, chocolate, and flavor of the month, and that's the pistachio almond, which is I've never tried. I've never tried their pistachio.
You're not going to give any love to the people that are here. You're not going to save a
Did you not look in the freezer? There is still ice cream from the last delivery.
Now I was supposed to just read your mind that was there?
No, actually, I told you about that after the last one because you were whining about, you never bring any back. And it's like, well, go look in the freezer. So I will tell you again, go look in the freezer, Rob.
Okay.
You will find ice cream.
Got it.
So
selective memory.
Yours.
What happens tonight?
And then tonight, it is a Thirsty Thursday at Sam's Place on Franklin Boulevard. Chance for you to maybe win some good stuff. We're giving away things every 15 minutes. We've got quite the swag bag and tickets for some pretty cool concerts, including James Taylor, who's going to be coming through the area. The Cure, Dead and Company, and just a variety of things. Widmer, of course, supplying some pretty good brews.
What a cross-section of concert tickets. James Taylor, some Grateful Dead music, and The Cure. Mm-hmm. Not all together.
A little something for everybody.
Although that would be kind of fun. All right, news coming up. Stand by. The Wake Up Call going to get you caught up. 7:08 on 1120 KPNW.
Burrito Amigos is a business rule breaker. In business courses, it's taught you can make a product cheap and fast, cheap and good, or good and fast, but you can't have it cheap, fast, and good. Burrito Amigos, therefore, is an outlier. You do get all three characteristics in any product at Burrito Amigos. How many burrito places can claim they put real, tender pieces of black Angus beef in their huge burritos and yet sell them for way under $10 and get them to you in just a couple of minutes? Take anything off the menu and it's the same. I'm a new convert to the Burrito Amigo shrimp burritos, and they're like something from what most people would consider to be a fancy sit-down restaurant. You've got to love a business that breaks the rule of three and then gives you friendly service as a bonus. That's one of the reasons why I'm one of Burrito Amigo's biggest fans. That, and they use 2 types of bacon in their bacon burritos. That's another business rule. You can't have it cheap, fast, and good with 2 types of bacon. Unless it's Burrito Amigos in Eugene and Springfield. They could be burrito unicorns.
Hurry into SM Gun Shop for March savings. 40 caliber handguns, 10% off. All other guns are $20 off. Reloading powder just in from Hodgdon, IMR, Winchester, and Alliance will stock up now. SM Gun Shop, Lane County's most established gun store on River Road in Eugene.
It's radio you can watch. The Wake Up Call with live video streaming from the Widmer Brothers studio every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 9. Go to KPNW.com and click on the Wake Up Call streaming banner. The Wake Up Call and Widmer Brothers, the local guys.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Now, this morning's wake-up call with the latest news from the Northwest and your neighborhood. On News Radio 1120, KPNW.
Good morning. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones featuring great breakfast burritos and fresh brewed locally roasted coffee for a tasty start to your morning. Here's what's going on. The cost of repairing damage to the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge is soaring. Brad Ford has the details.
Federal officials gave reporters a tour of the refuge to show the damage and progress making repairs. They say the septic system is clogged and will need significant repairs. The trench they dug and used as a latrine had to be cleaned out before it was refilled. Garbage was left in many of the buildings. Fences had to be replaced because they had been removed by the occupiers. There was damage to the visitors center. The total is more than $6 million, and that number is expected to go higher. Work continues to the visitors center to make it ready for the opening of the refuge later this year. Brad Ford, KPNW.
Well, a massive diesel leak closed I-5 just a few miles south of Albany after a tank on a semi somehow was breached.
There were a few hundred gallons spilled.
Angela Beer-Seidel of the Oregon Department of Transportation says the truck was filled with about 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel. Another truck was called in to transfer the remaining fuel that hadn't leaked, and that was going on while environmental crews cleaned up the spill. A busy day for a Eugene resident who is now in jail. 29-year-old Jason Duke entered the Royal Avenue Church by crawling through a first-floor window. Then he set fire to a number of items in the bell tower before leaving. Police were able to catch the man because he returned to the scene of the crime to get his pants.
They received information the suspect had come back and was kicking the front door of the church. And then when the police actually arrived, an officer tried to contact the suspect multiple times, that he ran from him. And then the officer told the suspect that he was under arrest. And then when he tried to detain him, the suspect resisted.
Glenn McLaughlin of the Eugene Police Department says eventually police pepper sprayed the man and then took him into custody. He was arrested on a number of charges, including first-degree arson, burglary, and resisting arrest. A Springfield man is facing charges after a crash. The University of Oregon Police Department pulled over 24-year-old Bryce Dudley for having a suspended license. Shortly after they pulled him over, he tried to speed off in his truck, nearly ran over one of the officers, and eventually ran into another vehicle. Dudley was arrested on multiple charges. One person is missing after a boating accident at the bar to Coos Bay. Brad Ford has that story.
The trawler is a 62-foot Patty AJ.
The vessel had capsized between the bar jetties down at the Coos Bay bar.
Coast Guard Petty Officer Amanda Norcross says witnesses saw 3 people on the deck as the boat turned and was swamped.
The 3 people who were tossed into the water, a Good Samaritan was able to pick them up shortly after, but there's still one person that's missing right now.
One of the people rescued was a representative from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. A diver searched the boat for the missing person but was forced out because of debris. The boat had 20,000 pounds of Dover sole in its hold. Brad Ford, KPNW.
And the Coast Guard announced just a little while ago that they are suspending the search for that missing individual. Over the course of a year, Oregon has become home to thousands more people. Our population grew by about 1.5% within the last year, nearly returning to the growth rates from before when the recession hit, according to a new analysis released by the U.S. Census Bureau. The estimates include data from July 2014 through July of 2015, and overall, Oregon's population increased by about 58,000 people, which comes to 1.5%. Within that year, that is, the state's total population has climbed to more than 4 million people overall. The fastest growing counties in the state were Deschutes and Crook County with a 3% growth rate, followed by Washington County at 2%. The Bend-Redmond metro area actually ranked 8th fastest in growth nationwide with a 2.9% population increase over the last year. Now, if you're looking at a county comparison, Lane County had a fairly pedestrian increase of 1%, which is around 4,400 people who settled here over the last 12 months. Lynn and Benton counties also grew by about 1%. A number of eastern Oregon counties saw population declines, including Baker, Lake, and Umatilla counties. Oregonians, if you're going to be driving up to Washington, need to know that when you're in Washington State, you can't camp out in the left lane. Washington State Trooper Will Finn says they're doing enhanced enforcement.
We're looking for those that are camped out here. They're not passing anyone. There's no reason why they shouldn't be over in the other lane.
In Washington, you can only use the left lane for passing, and if you're caught hanging out in the left lane, it's a $136 ticket. Oregon legislators have been considering a similar law, but they've never passed enough but they've never gotten enough votes to pass it. So, if you're traveling on I-5 in the southbound lanes from milepost 163 to 159, 11 miles south of Cottage Grove, both lanes are reporting very slow traffic and congestion that's lasting about 4 miles. Eek. Take care there. So, again, that's between milepost 163 and 159, quite the bottleneck there. An Oregon congressman is fighting the TSA because they won't conduct security checks on passengers at the airport in K Falls. Brad Ford has that story.
When SkyWest left the Crater Lake Klamath Regional Airport, so did the TSA. But now Pan Air is considering daily flights to Portland, but the TSA won't return.
Unfortunately, TSA wouldn't do this on their own. They wouldn't do it in Klamath. They wouldn't do it in other small communities around the country.
Congressman Greg Walden sponsored the Treating Small Airports with Fairness Act to force the TSA back,
which should clear the path then for air service to come back to the Klamath Basin.
The bill is expected to get a vote on the House floor. It would require the TSA to offer screenings if a commercial carrier that left after 2013 plans to resume service within a year. Brad Ford, KPNW.
A Coast Guard helicopter crew rescued a 16-year-old boy who fell 200 feet while hiking near Multnomah Falls. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says the teen from Troutdale fell near the top of Angels Rest Trailhead. A Coast Guard crew from Astoria was able to transport the boy to medical personnel at the Oregon Health and Sciences University in Portland. Officials say an off-duty paramedic and emergency doctor were hiking in the area at the time and stabilized the teen on the side of a cliff. Officials say the teen suffered injuries to his head and spine. Obviously a pretty tough teenage young man there, and also a couple of heroes in the paramedic and emergency doctor. Opponents of a proposed Nestle water bottling plant in the Columbia River Gorge are facing an organized group now of project supporters. The Coalition for a Strong Gorge Economy registered with the Oregon Secretary of State this month as a group in favor of the plant, while the Local Water Alliance continues shoving back against the project. But River County voters will decide a ballot measure in May banning water bottling operations that produce over 1,000 gallons daily. Nestle plans to package about 11 times that amount in an hour. On average, Nestle released a video on Twitter supporting the project as an economic driver. Opponents, however, released their own, characterizing Nestle as a bully, exploiting Oregon's natural resources and giving very little back in return. Both sides are using airwaves and phones to spread their opposing messages.
Well, a Washington Buddhist monk, Cozen Sampson, was attacked during a trip to Hood River. He said that he was attacked unexpectedly after he pulled his car over. He said that somebody ran up and yelled. He turned around, they kicked his door, and then they hit him in the side of the face and knocked his head into the frame of the car. According to Sampson, he says, "I remember them yelling an F-bomb about Muslims." Cozen says he's extended forgiveness to the stranger. He says he's a Buddhist, not a Muslim. Well, the Solve Oregon Spring Beach Cleanup is happening this Saturday, and thousands of volunteers are going to go to the Oregon coast to clean up debris that's washed up during the winter. Kayleen Boyle says you want to watch the forecast and dress for the weather.
If you're coming out to the beach, we want to make sure that you bring a water bottle to stay hydrated, some snacks, and then just make sure you know where you're going. We have 45 check-in sites.
I wonder how many people will actually go to this and not stay hydrated. Solve provides bags, gloves, and instructions. They'd like you to register on their website, but you can show up at one of their locations. The hours for the cleanup are Saturday from 10 to 1. I'm assuming they've had numerous people that have passed out from being dehydrated while they're collecting garbage. 1 minute he was picking up a cigarette butt, and the next thing I knew he was lying there having a hard time breathing. Okay, again, I-5 southbound lanes, milepost 163 to 159. Major slowdown there, both lanes. That's 11 miles south of Cottage Grove, and it's a major bottleneck, so not sure why exactly, just that it's there. Good luck. It's 7:20. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones. You're up to date from KPNW.
Wake Up Call Sports on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
So folks in Bethel are familiar with the talents of Lexi Bando. The Utah Utes refamiliarized themselves with Lexi. She landed 6 three-pointers on the way to 34 points for the Oregon women as the Ducks dumped Utah 73-63 in a third-round WNIT game Matthew night last night. Wasn't a cakewalk as Oregon was down early by 9. Ducks advanced to the quarterfinals and will play the winner of tonight's TCU UTEP game. All of this, I'll remind you, without Jillian Aline, out with the torn ACL. Western Oregon out of Monmouth, north of Corvallis, has made it to the Division II Final Four after ripping Saginaw Valley State 81-68. Andy Agee threw in 20 points with 4 threes for the third-seeded Wolves. They'll play number 2 seed Augustana of South Dakota tonight. Oregon men will try to oust NC2A defending national champ Duke from the tournament tonight, 7:07. They'll be trying to foil 6'9" Brandon Ingram, who's averaging 17-7, a meaty 7-footer, and Grayson Allen, all under the tutelage of the legendary Coach K. Hopefully, Dana Altman will be able to channel Norman Dale and make this just another game with a pair of 10-foot basketball hoops for the chance to go to the Elite Eight. Norman Dale, of course, the coach from Hoosiers, the movie. Oregon softball team, 27 games into their season, and tonight they have their first game at home at the shiny new Jane Sanders Stadium, replacing Krusty Howe Field. They'll play Stanford. Ace Sheridan Hawkins, not the Sheridan of years past, got a 3.3 ERA compared to the 1.63 of 3 previous seasons. And the Oregon Ducks men track and field team has been ranked number 1 with Edward Cheserek and Devin Allen leading the way. Ducks are coming off 2 consecutive national titles. The Oregon women ranked 2nd in the nation behind LSU. Wake Up Call Sports, live and local, brought to you by Max Muscle, the authority in nutrition since 1991. Across Franklin from Market of Choice in Eugene. News time 7:22.
KPNW weather brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning. We had a storm system blow through overnight as well as a cold front and brought about 1/3 of an inch of rain. Now we're starting to see isolated showers off and on out there, but for the most part, it's starting to wind down. We've got mostly cloudy skies. Temps right now in the mid-40s with light winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10. This afternoon, I actually expect a couple hours of partly cloudy skies as the storm system starts to pull away to the east. We do have a 40% chance of a few more showers, even maybe 1 or 2 thunderstorms, but none of it looks that severe. Otherwise, we'll see highs into the mid-50s. Now, we are tracking another storm system for this holiday weekend. At this point, the latest data suggests it'll move in Saturday night with a 90% chance of showers off and on. This one much stronger, lingering into your Sunday. If you want to do outdoor activities for Easter, I'd plan to probably do them late in the afternoon on Sunday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a fantastic day out there.
This winter, we received more rainfall than in the past 75 years. Severe weather could cause damage to your home's foundation. Ramjack can fix that. Get your free in-home evaluation at ramjackwest.com.
CCB 146906.
Hi, everybody. This is Don Essig with today's Motivational Minute, sponsored by Eugene's #1 electrical contractor, Builders Electric. The often quoted philosopher Confucius once told his followers, "A person who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake." The test of a really strong person is being able to admit it when we're wrong and when we've made an error in life. Admitting mistakes is definitely a measure of one's strength, not weaknesses. Fortunately, most people want to help, not hurt those who do admit mistakes. That's how we grow, by admitting and helping. So admit it today and move forward. This is Don Essig with today's Motivational Minute. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, have a positive day.
This Motivational Minute was brought to you by Builders Electric, providing honest, reliable, and positive contracting throughout the Willamette Valley since 1960. That's Builders Electric, CCB number 4296.
Max Muscle Sports Nutrition is more than a nutrition store. Tom here at Max Muscle. If you want to make changes to your overall health, lose weight, build muscle, or if you just want to feel better, stop by, talk to a certified nutritionist. Max Muscle, Franklin Boulevard, across from the Market of Choice.
Built for business. In business, time is money. In business, money is also money. No wonder nearly 1,000 businesses choose Comcast Business Internet over DSL from the phone company every single day. Not only is it up to 5 times faster, it's actually a better value when you go with the fastest plan. So take a minute out of your busy schedule and call Comcast Business. It will be well worth your time and your money. Switch to Comcast Business Internet. Then add voice and TV for just $34.90 a month. And ask about our 2-year price guarantee. Call 800-501-6000 or visit ComcastBusiness.com. Comcast Business. Built for business.
Offer ends 5/31/16. Restrictions apply. Limited to one voice line and private view TV for new customers. 2-year contract required. Requires Comcast Business Internet at an additional monthly charge. Equipment taxes and fees, including broadcast TV fee extra. Savings claim based on cost per megabits per second. Compares Comcast 100 megabits per second and 20 megabits per second DSL downloads.
Oh, it's another Thirsty Thursday today. I'm Bill London of the KPNW Wake-Up Call, inviting you to join me from 4 to 7 at Sam's Place on Franklin Boulevard. Thirsty Thursday is about tasting some great Widmer craft brews and sampling some other great Northwest beers. And we'll have plenty of prizes, including tickets to see James Taylor, The Cure, and more. Free eats from Burrito Amigos, Northwest Burgers, and more. And it's today from 4 to 7. So let's hoist a stein and maybe get ready for a big Ducks game tonight. It's at Sam's Place on Franklin Boulevard. I'm Bill London, and I approve this message.
I won't mention any names, but their initials are
Holloway in London. The Wake Up Call on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
726 News Radio 1120 KPNW. Did we miss a glorious sunrise this morning by any chance?
I didn't see anything.
All right. I just wanted to make sure because I'm looking out there right now and thinking, conditions would be good for a good sunrise this morning. Yeah, that's right. It is the Wake Up Call, the only morning show in Eugene that actually occasionally discusses in depth.
Okay, the last one we had was worthy of the time that we spent because it was incredible.
It was. It was fantastic. All right. Well, this, I guess, like Rob mentioned earlier, is the candidate hour. We'll start off first off and out of the chute from the Albany area. It is Jo Rae Perkins. She is a candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, 4th Congressional District, and she wants the chance to run against none other than Peter DeFazio in the fall. She joins us for the first time on the Wake Up Call. Jo Rae, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah. All right. So for folks that don't know who you are, give the elevator bio.
Okay. I live in Albany, as you mentioned, with my husband. We have been together now 43 years. 2 adult children, 10 grandchildren. My background is in financial planning and helping people budget and get out of debt. I've got a background in banking, real estate, I currently work at that university north of Eugene in the office of the Animal and Rangeland Science Department. And
okay.
my goal is, so.
Okay, well, we'll get to your goal in a second here. So how does one transition from financial management into dealing with rangeland critters at the Oregon State University?
Well, one transitions by first going back to school and getting their degree in political science and running for office, and then going, well, we might need to make a few dollars in between campaigns.
Okay.
That was the transition.
Okay.
Simple transition.
Yeah, but okay, so you get a degree in political science. How does that translate into rangeland animals?
Well, I'm working in the office, so my job is to help keep the front office running smooth, help the faculty, take care of all the hiring for the students.
Got it.
We hire a lot of students because we have 7 different farm units.
So what was it that made you decide to move out of financial management?
The truthful answer is I really felt that it was a calling that was put on my heart to do, that it was just all of a sudden one day, go do this.
Okay, why? What was the impetus that, gave you that change of heart that made you decide, Joe Ray, go out and change the world as a politician?
Like I said, I really felt that it was something that was just, I suppose for those of us that believe in God, it was something that I just felt that God was calling me to go do, sort of a ministry, if you will. Sometimes in life there's things that you say, this just needs to be done, and you go do it. There's that saying, if not me, who? We can't just stand around and wait for things to happen. So, and the way that our country was founded, it was founded on Main Street Americans, everyday ordinary citizens, going out there and giving their time to their country for a limited period of time.
Now, you've run for other offices before, right?
Yes.
And why don't you kind of run down some of the other offices that you've run for?
Okay. So I ran for the GOP nomination for the U.S. Senate 2 years ago and lost to Monica Webby, who lost to Jeff Merkley. I ran for mayor in Albany, which was interesting to run in your own hometown, and that was in 2010, and then I ran for city council way back in 1994.
What makes you think that this time around you have an actual chance of being successful?
Because this time around, people are finally waking up to the fact that the federal government or elected officials are not doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing. They appear to be violating their oath of office, which is to defend and uphold the Constitution as it was originally intended, as it was written, not as it is currently interpreted. And so people are noticing that things are not going the way they're supposed to be going. They're noticing that we've got career politicians. I will not mention the gentleman's name in polite company, but he has just started his 15th term, or is halfway through his 15th term. So that means he's
first off,
30th year. So
first off, you're overrating us by saying you're in polite company.
Well, I'm thinking of your listeners.
Okay, so you, you at one point or another, you're going to, if you actually expect to run against him, you're going to have to mention he who shall not be named. Peter de Voldemort.
Eventually we will.
Huh?
Eventually we will. He's got plenty of name recognition.
Okay, well, yeah, but...
So, but, I
mean, realistically... Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, realistically, I think it's doable. Anybody is beatable at anything at any time.
And what makes you think that you can beat him when you had somebody that was running against him, in particular Art Robinson, who had millions upon millions of dollars, at least his first go-around with him, and while he did better than anybody else had done in past years to challenge him, still was, short within, I think, about 10 points of beating him. What makes you think that, you being kind of a career candidate are going to be able to beat DeFazio, who has, a pretty good infrastructure built?
Okay, so first, I'm not a career candidate. And there's lots of people, I don't know, maybe Abraham Lincoln that ran multiple times before he was elected. So there's a difference between being a candidate and a career candidate. And a career candidate is somebody who's also most likely a career politician. The difference is we have a different attitude in America today. We have people like Donald Trump who are seeing this being politically correct is ruining this nation, and I 100% agree with that statement. In fact, those are things that I said when I was out running 2 years ago. But people are finally waking up, and they're saying, you're right, this is not the way that this country is supposed to be running. We've got people in the state that are very upset with things that have happened in Eastern Oregon. They're very upset that the federal government has overreached their authority. And they're very upset that we have politicians, elected officials, who are just turning a blind eye. One of the things is that most of my money will be coming from Oregonians, not from out of state. So having looked at where Art got his large donations, they were from out of state people. I'm not saying that's all bad, but I'm saying when the majority of the money comes from out of state. I personally happen to like Art, and yes, he decided he was going to run a fourth time. Why he thinks he can beat DeFazio a fourth time is beyond me, but that's okay. But I know that I'm different. I am very accessible to people. And like I said, people are tired of what's going on. There's a whole network of people that are out there that are involved in the political process this time around. They weren't involved before. And that's part of the huge difference.
Okay. What are some of the things that, if you were elected, that you would actually plan to do?
Okay, so one of the things that I would plan to do, I will sponsor a bill, and I know this is probably not the best thing to lead with, but it's where my heart is. We need to overturn Doe versus Bolton and end late-term abortions. Oregon is one of 9 states that allows an abortion up until the moment the child is born. That is wrong on every level. So that's one of the very first things that I will do. Next thing that I plan on doing is making sure that our veterans get the medical care that they need to get. We have veterans traveling from Eastern Oregon all the way into Portland or Roseburg for their medical care. 5 hours one way. They sit there all day, find out they're not going to get seen, take that veterans transportation 5 hours back to Eastern Oregon.
Okay.
We need for our veterans to be able to see a doctor where they live, whomever they want to see, where it's convenient, and have it paid for. And they should not have to call a call center and have the runaround to make an appointment. They should be able to call their doctor's office just like I do.
Okay, so I want to actually ask you a couple of questions about that.
Okay.
Say whatever you want to about the incumbent Peter DeFazio. One of the things that actually he's been very effective at is veterans issues and trying to do a lot of the things that you're discussing there. What makes you believe that you'll be any more capable of doing a better job than he currently is when you would be somebody that would be new walking through the doors as opposed to somebody that's been in there basically dealing with that issue for a number of years?
It's simple. He apparently hasn't been able to get it done. Let's take a look at what has happened on his watch.
But my question here...
what makes me think that I can do it?
Yeah, what makes... If he can't, somebody that's been there that long, and like I said, say whatever you want to about DeFazio, I will say he's been very good dealing with veterans issues.
He has been very good at dealing with veterans issues one at a time. He has not been very good at getting the solution. If he's got the solution for one veteran, but can't solve it for all the veterans that have the same issues, then he's not doing a very good job. Then he's doing it one off at a time. And that's going to be the difference. I will go in there and say, these are the issues. Look at what has happened in the VA's administration under the almost 30 years that Peter DeFazio has been in Washington, D.C. This is ridiculous. We have veterans whose files suddenly are disappearing. Oh, we didn't know that you had an appointment. We don't have any record of that. This is horrible. And so for somebody to make the claim that they're standing up for veterans' rights, they're standing up for the rights of the veterans that have been able to vote for them. They're not standing up for the rights of every veteran. And that's a huge difference. We need to have somebody that's going to go in there and sit down and look at this and say, okay, I'm not doing this for political gain, because I'm not. I have other things in my life that I could personally do. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do, and it needs to be done for every veteran. And I think it's the way that things are approached. Now, I cannot tell you how he approaches things. I can just tell you that I see the results of his almost 30 years of fighting for veterans. Now, I will say thank you for fighting for those veterans that he did fight for. He has helped some, but he has not helped the number that could be helped. And I think it's just a different approach. I just think it's looking at it with fresh eyes and new ideas. You can't keep trying the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results.
I want to take I'm going to give you a question here off the email, and this is kind of off the track, but I'm going to ask anyways. Ask one of the listeners, would you be interested in doing anything to help marijuana businesses actually get bank accounts and changes in the federal banking laws?
So that is a great question. So thank you to whomever asked that question. I'll start off with, give me just 1 second here.
Yeah.
Sorry, every now and then you get thirsty and you can't talk anymore.
Okay. Having a nice refreshing beverage.
Beverage or some water.
Okay. Go ahead.
I will start off with, I am not in favor of people getting high. I don't drink either. So you can take that for what it is. Having said that, the marijuana issue is not a federal issue according to the Constitution. So the federal government has no right to prohibit. That's a state's powers issue. So the answer to that is yes, even though I'm not for it, just because I personally prefer to have all my brain cells working as much as possible, I'm also definitely not for the federal government overstepping their authority, and that is one area where they're overstepping their authority.
Okay. Any other things, because we just got a couple of seconds left here, Joe Ray, any other things that strike you as something that you need to tackle if you were elected?
The budget. There's so much overspending. We have duplication of work going on, more than duplication of work. But there's so many agencies that the federal government has put into place. Our government is supposed to be a small federal government, larger at the state, largest at the closest to the people. So we've got to get the federal government out of our lives to the extent as possible. So people can find me on my website at perkins4oregon.com. I'm on Facebook under the same thing. And they can send me questions. My phone number is listed, and I will return phone calls.
Okay. It's PERKINS. And Joe Ray, thanks for joining us on the Wake Up Call.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All right, you too. It's 740 News Radio, 1120 KPNW.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are slipping along with oil once again. The Dow down 80 points, the Nasdaq down 21, and the S&P down 12, even though the day's economic news is upbeat. The nation's job market keeps showing reasons for economists to be at least somewhat optimistic. The Labor Department says new jobless claim filings inched higher by 6,000 last week from the revised reading the week before to 265,000. That's a smaller increase than forecast by analysts surveyed by Bloomberg. And orders for durable goods fell last month for the third time in 4 months, down 2.8%. But the forecast had been for a bigger drop. Demand for non-military equipment designed to last at least 3 years fell 1.8%. That was more than expected. If you think the American dream includes owning a home, your dream might not come true. RealtyTrack finds that in 2/3 of the country this year, home prices have risen faster than wages. I'm Adrienne Mitchell, Bloomberg Radio.
The Easter season is a time of hope, which makes it the perfect time to consider a gift to the Eugene Mission. Because when you give to the Eugene Mission, you give rise to hope. The Eugene Mission is the area's only wellness center for the homeless. We treat the causes of homelessness, not just the symptoms. And when those we serve get well, all of Eugene Springfield gets well. Give rise to hope by donating today at eugenemission.org. The Eugene Mission. Hope rising.
It's finally happened. The best real estate market in a decade. Low inventory coupled with low Interest rates equals top dollar for your house in today's market. If you want to sell within your time frame and get the most money possible, now is the time.
Harpole Real Estate with Keller Williams will ensure a stress-free move for you. Not all agents are the same. In fact, Eric, Jeanette, and their team outsell all other agents and teams in Lane County. Since 2009, they've helped 150 more families sell and move than the number 2 agent. The reason? Better marketing and better negotiating. And unlike other agents, they offer flexible commissions. Their exclusive enhanced listing program, and if you're not happy, fire them. You are in control.
Call for a free no-pressure consultation, 546-286-3030, or at harpolehomes.com. If you live in Douglas County, Harpole Real Estate can help you too. Now you have a real estate team that can get your home sold. 541-286-3030.
Climb aboard Amtrak Cascades from Eugene to Portland for less than $20 one way. Start your adventure at Amtrak.com/see what happens.
Pacific Continental Bank is proud to call the Eugene-Springfield area home for more than 40 years. As your local banker, partner, and neighbor, we are committed to the health and sustainability of your business and our community. We know it takes more than a loan or deposit to help you succeed. It takes people who know you, your business, and your community. Who says we can't be more than a bank? Pacific Continental Bank, the right bank. Learn more at therightbank.com. Member FDIC.
KPNW weather brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning. If you're headed out that door in the next few minutes, you're already out and about. We've got a few lingering showers on radar off and on out there, but most of the energy starting to wind down from last night's storm system and cold front. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies. Temps from the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10. This afternoon, I actually expect a few hours of partly cloudy skies, but we also keep a 40% chance of showers as well as maybe 1 or 2 rogue thunderstorms. None of it looks to be severe, though. We're not looking at a whole lot of rain. We only picked up about 1/3 of an inch overnight, and we're only expecting trace amounts unless you get a storm directly over you. Now, highs this afternoon look to be in the mid-50s across the region, thanks to that same cold front from last night. We are tracking another storm system set to move in Saturday night into your Sunday morning, so if you're planning to do those Easter egg hunts, you may want to hold off until the afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a great day.
Hey, don't look at me. I didn't invite them.
The Wake Up Call with Holloway in London on News Radio 1120. KPNW.
News Radio 1120 KPNW. All right, candidate number 2 for the hour. Joining us from Eastern Oregon, it is Sam Carpenter, who is running for U.S. Senate. Sam, before we go any further here, do you drink?
No.
You don't drink at all?
I occasionally have a glass of wine, but it's extremely occasional.
Okay.
Why?
Well, I was just because our last candidate pointed out, and very strongly so, that she does not drink whatsoever. So I just was like, okay, does this guy drink? Does he not drink? Apparently this year, that is a campaign issue.
Well, it's a federal office, but I'm not going to make a federal issue out of it.
Okay, good deal. Okay, so we're not going back to prohibition at least.
No, that's not happening.
All right. Well, Sam, thanks for joining us on the Wake Up Call. We appreciate it, and welcome aboard. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you come from? What have you been doing until now that you've decided that, oh, I want to be a senator?
Well, I am from upstate New York, and I don't mean Yonkers. I mean extreme upstate New York, and I came out here when I was 24 to work in the Great Woods. And the Great Woods of Oregon is what we called it back there. And I've done all kinds of work in my life, project engineer work, union work, non-union work. I have written a couple of books based on a business I've had for 30 years here in Bend. I have 40 employees. It's a call center, and it's about how to fix broken business. And in fact, I've turned that into 4 separate small businesses. The primary one, I travel around the country with my partner and my team, and we fix other people's businesses. And I've been doing that for about 5 years. The book is in its 3rd edition. It's called Work the System, oddly enough. And my specialty is to fix broken organizations. And it struck me that actually I have some resources and some attributes that would lend themselves to this position, and it is an odd cycle, of course, and as an outsider and a fix-it specialist, I think I could fit into this role very well.
All right. So one of the things, if you're going to fix a business,
you have to identify, of course, what the problems are. So if you were to fix government, identify what the problems are and how one goes about making those changes.
Right, and of course I'm one person in a field of 100 back there.
Right.
But at least I would be one person. But what you have to do is look at your organization or your body or your relationships or the world itself and see that it's a collection of separate systems, of separate processes. So when we go into a broken organization, we see the separate processes going on. Most people don't see that. They see a big conglomeration of confusion, which is what most people see the government as. So I would go in and take things apart. You look at the largest problem. It could be immigration. You look at the largest problem, you take it apart into separate components, and you fix it. And, of course, the big problem in Washington, D.C. is career politicians who take problems and they go on and on and on. The condition of our forests, our national forests, for one thing. Why isn't there a wall on the southern border? Either one of those problems could be fixed in a number of years, and they've been going on for 30 or 35 years. So the big problem in Washington, D.C. right now are people like Ron Wyden who don't want to fix the problems. They just want them to go back and forth, and they build their little political careers on that. We got a lot of people on the other side and on the conservative side that feel that way and operate that way.
All right, so let's talk about some specifics. You worked in the woods. That's why you came out here. So, what would you do then to fix what's going on with the way that we, deal with land use and timber issues?
Well, you go backwards. You start with the woods. You start with the forest itself, 27 million acres. What is the problem? The problem is they need to be cleaned up. The forests need to be cleaned up. We got kicked out of there in the early 80s. All of federal land and the state land pretty much can't go in there, and we've got an accumulation of fuel, and there needs to be thinning. It's a tinderbox. Wait till this summer. We lost 1 million acres last year. We need to clean it up. And so what we need is federal money, it's federal land, to come in here and hire local crews, re-energize the Cottage Groves and the Coquilles and the Bakers and the Burns of Oregon, all the small towns with crews that will go in and clean it up, not clear-cut it. And that's a politically correct bullet that's always shot at us. Oh, you want to clear-cut the forest. No, we want to cultivate it. Like you cultivate your garden in the backyard, you have to tend to it. It hasn't been tended to for 30 years, and that's more than a shame. That's a disaster for tens of thousands of families that could be working and aren't working. And the forest itself is just a mess and needs to be cleaned up. It can happen. You work backwards, you get the money to do it, and you get it done.
Well, what makes you believe that you would be able to get something like that done with the conflicting interests there are from environmental groups and conservationists and everyone else that are all vying to, tie forests up? What leads you to believe that you, as a congressman, would be able to break through that and actually get it accomplished?
Well, as a senator, and there's 2 senators for every state. Right now we have an environmentalist senator. So
well, you have 2 environmentalist senators.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you've got 2 of them, and they're smiling on these lawsuits, whether it's a salamander or an owl or whatever it is. I wouldn't smile upon it. It's crazy. These are real people that live here in Oregon. We're not a virus. We're not some kind of a sickness that's come into the world. We live here. And we have a responsibility to tend to the garden, and that takes people, and that means jobs. And that means, and I'll go ahead and say it, chainsaws. We got to take chainsaws in there and clean it up. That's our gardening tool. Not clear cut it, clean it up.
All right. You mentioned that there needs to be a wall on the southern border. That definitely echoes one of the themes that we've heard from Donald Trump. Are you a Trump supporter in other ways other than just a wall along the southern border?
Well, yes, of course. There needs to be a wall along the southern border. We're not a country. You just can't. I have a small company in Europe, and I've watched that influx of migrants last summer. It's a seasonal thing. You can't have it. We see what's going on in Europe. We've got to be able to identify the people that are coming into the country. And then the people that are here, the 12 million people, they need to be registered. They need to get at the back of the line. If they're able to be registered, they get a work permit and they stay here. It's a simple thing. That could be fixed in a couple of years. You know, in Hungary last summer, they built a 109-mile fence for $100 million in 3 months. And we've taken 35 years, since the Reagan years, we've been going on trying to figure out whether we should put a fence down there, and we're back into the politically correct. No, I'm not a bigot because I want a wall. Hey, my daughter is half Latino, so don't even start on me. And my partner in my business is Native American. Don't even start. We've got to cut through the political correctness and get to the problem and fix the problem. We conservatives have been caught up in political correctness and joined the conversation, and we need to get out of that conversation and just get the job done.
All right. Got a couple of minutes left here. You know, you've talked a little bit about a couple of the things that you're interested in. You didn't really say, though, whether, other than the issue of the wall, whether you were a Trump supporter or not. So
I'm not.
Ask again.
Oh, yeah, and I suppose you could accuse me of spinning, but I've made the decision to support whoever the nominee is. There's things I like about Donald Trump a lot. There's things about Ted Cruz I like a lot. And I'm going to suspend any overt support until we have a nominee. Now,
okay, so briefly then, give me a couple of things that you like about Ted Cruz and a couple of things that you like about Trump.
Well, Ted Cruz, okay, my book, Work the System, is about processes and systems and documentation. Ted Cruz is a documentation guy. He wants to go back to the Constitution. He's precisely correct. The original documentation was really, really good up until recently, apparently. It's still really, really good, and the government's overreach is incredible. I love the guy for that. Donald Trump has the ability to turn the apple cart over. And that's why so many Democrats are switching over to the Republican side. He wants to turn that apple cart over. And you know, it doesn't matter what he says or what he does. It's so clear. It's so simple. And a lot of people are real tired of how it is now on both sides of the aisle. I love the guy because of that.
Okay, so what do you dislike then about Cruz, and what do you dislike about Trump?
Well, Trump... he talks too much, maybe. You know, some of the things he said were not necessary to say, obviously. Cruz, I can't think of anything I don't like about the guy. It's too bad he can't get along, maybe too bad he can't get along better in the Senate with his colleagues, but I also understand that. This is about turning the apple cart over, and Ted Cruz is in that place, too.
All right. Give a quick, we're out of time, unfortunately, Sam, but I would love you to, give us let us know the website, for folks that want to find out more about you, when you're going to be coming through the area, et cetera.
CarpenterForSenate.com, and our Facebook page has been very active. It's also Carpenter for Senate, and I will be down your way in a couple of weeks.
All right. Well, when you come down this way, we would love to have you stop by the studio and have a little bit more of a chat with us.
Thanks. I'll look forward to it.
All right. You take care, Sam. Thank you.
Okay, Bill. Thanks.
It's 756 News Radio, 1120 KPNW.
When you're ready for a new vehicle, visit GuaranteeCars.com and shop, click, and drive. Now you can use your keyboard or mobile device to get the keys to a new or used car or truck from the comfort of anywhere, anytime. Search Guarantee's vast inventory. Then choose your car or truck, click the Create Your Deal button, and you're on your way to a new era of car buying. It's easy, convenient, takes only minutes, and walks you through the entire buying process. You can even estimate payments and trade-in values. Plus, you'll see all current offers and incentives and all applicable fees. Your new vehicle is only a few clicks away. A Silverado, Colorado, Camaro, even a Cruze. Try the Spark or the revolutionary Chevy Volt. Try Shop, Click, and Drive between now and March 31st and get a coupon for 15% off any car or truck accessory in stock. Eggs are cheaper in the country, and so are cars and trucks at GuaranteeCars.com. Shop, Click, and Drive today. Offer expires March 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers.
Hi, this is Brian Sutherland, owner of Amco Transmissions in Springfield. For years, Amco in Springfield has been repairing your cars and trucks' most complicated system, the transmission. So it's no wonder people come to us with all sorts of problems. Don't take any chances. Bring your car to Amco in Springfield. We'll diagnose it right, repair it for a fair price, and back it with a nationwide warranty. Whether it's your car, truck, or motorhome, call Amco Springfield, 541-726-6824, or find us on Facebook. That's AAMCO.
Northwest Burger inside the 5th Street Market features burgers so amazing they're an experience all their own. Freshly ground meat and local produce combined with the creativity of local chef Garrett Kirsch makes for a burger experience like no other. You'll get mouth-watering goodness in every single bite. Check out their menu and photos on Facebook. Northwest Burger, located in the 5th Street Market. It's not just a burger, it's an experience.
Do you have 30 minutes a week to make a difference in the life of a Eugene student? Join the Eugene Middle School Lunchtime Mentor Program. Be a friend. Support a middle schooler this year. Visit 4j.lane.edu/volunteers for more information.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. A slide in oil prices has stocks aiming for their first weekly loss in 6 weeks. The markets are closed tomorrow for Good Friday. The Dow down 78 points, the Nasdaq down 11, and the S&P down 10 as crude futures fall about 3% to $38.50 a barrel. Oil companies are starting to feel the winds of climate change. The Securities and Exchange Commission is ordering ExxonMobil to allow shareholders to vote on a motion to force it to spell out specifically how climate change and the government efforts to fight it will affect the company's finances. Meantime, the family that built Exxon, originally Standard Oil, is now turning its back on the company. The Rockefeller Family Fund says it's pulling out of all fossil fuel investments, including oil, coal, and oil sands. It says there is now no sane rationale for companies to continue to explore for new sources of hydrocarbons. I'm Adrienne Mitchell, Bloomberg Radio.
We report, you decide. This is News Radio 1120 KPNW, Eugene, Springfield, USA.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. 2 days after Belgium was bombed.
Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their loved ones.
But here in the U.S., Attorney General Loretta Lynch says,
we have received no specific credible threats to the homeland.
This as Belgian authorities searched for 2 suspects in the attacks that killed 31 people. Lynch's comments came before announcing criminal charges against 7 Iranians in a hacking case. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has more live.
All 7 worked for Iranian computer companies that did work on behalf of the Iranian government. A small dam outside New York City was one of the things hacked. U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Preet Bharara, called the hacks a frightening new frontier.
And although no actual harm resulted from that infiltration, the potential havoc that such a hack of American infrastructure could wreak is scary to think about.
Those charged are not in American custody, Dave.
Tanya, more than 20 years after the Bosnian War, a former Serb leader has been convicted. Fox's Kitty Logan live in our European bureau.
The International Criminal Court in The Hague ruled Radovan Karadzic was guilty of genocide for his involvement in the 1995 Srebrenica massacre. The judge said he was responsible for the killing of 8,000 Bosnian Muslim men. In all, Karadzic was found guilty of 10 out of 11 charges. These include the murder and persecution of Bosnian Muslims and Croats, and using snipers and shelling in civilian areas during the siege of Sarajevo in the 1990s. The judge acquitted him on a second genocide charge. Karadzic has been sentenced to 40 years in prison. Dave?
Kitty, President Obama's in Argentina visiting a memorial to those killed in a 1976 military coup that led to a dictatorship.
There's been controversy about the policies of the United States early in those dark days.
He says the U.S. was slow to speak out for human rights back then. A wildfire that had been under control in Kansas was reignited by wind this morning in Comanche County. Crews are fighting it along a mile-long fire line. More than 300 square miles have burned. 1 home has been torched. Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
This tip of the week brought to you by Neurospine Institute.
Neurospine Institute is a healing place that offers sophisticated diagnostic and surgical services with a range of treatment options. Their specialists are leaders in their profession in addressing back and neck injuries, pain management, and sports medicine. Treatments include neurosurgery, physical therapy, minimally invasive procedures, and pain management. Equipped with sophisticated diagnostic and surgical capabilities, plus a caring staff committed to each patient's well-being. They'll work closely with your primary care or referring physician to ensure the best care and treatment for your unique situation. Visit neurospinellc.com today and get your life back.
Are you living with chronic pain? The specialists at Neurospine Institute can diagnose the problem and develop a personalized treatment plan to address your symptoms. Their comprehensive services include clinical and surgical procedures, sports medicine, physical therapy, medical imaging, and pain management. Neurospine Institute's medical professionals will work closely with your primary care or referring physician to ensure that you receive the best care and treatment. They serve all of Western Oregon with 2 locations, the main campus in Eugene and their Roseburg clinic. Visit neurospinellc.com today and get your life back.
As Donald Trump and Ted Cruz engage in a war of words over their wives, a new Fox poll puts the Republican race very close. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Donald Trump is still in the lead, but Ted Cruz is catching up, according to the new Fox News poll, which shows the candidates 3 points apart, 41 to 38%, within the margin of error. The race tightened since mid-February, and during that time, Ben Carson, Jeb Bush, and Marco Rubio all dropped out. The poll also shows Cruz and John Kasich have a chance to beat Democrat Hillary Clinton, while Trump would lose a hypothetical general election matchup with Clinton by 11 points. On the Democratic side, Clinton has a double-digit lead over Bernie Sanders for the party's nomination. Dave?
Rachel, 9 people have been charged with murder after a teenager was stabbed to death in the middle of a brawl last week near Augusta, Georgia. It's estimated dozens of teens were involved in the fight, armed with baseball bats, pipes, knives, and other weapons. An 85-year-old Florida man got bloodied and bruised, but he didn't get robbed.
The octogenarian says when the trio followed him and his wife to their Hialeah, Florida home and tried to rob them at gunpoint, he would have none of it.
The guy put the gun right in front of my head, and where he had it, it was close that I took a hand and slapped it away. He held on to it, and then he hit me in the head with it.
His wife did her part, too, screaming for help, dialing 911. The cops responded quickly, flooded the neighborhood, captured all 3 suspects. Why did he do it? He says at 85, he figures he didn't go all through life for someone to come and steal what he has. John Saucier, Fox News.
March has gone mad, or will again tonight. The NCAA basketball tournament resumes.
Miami and Villanova will get things underway tonight, followed by Texas A&M and Oklahoma. Maryland will then take on top seed Kansas, and Oregon will face Duke.
Fox's Matt Napolitano. At the end of those games tonight, the Sweet 16 will be whittled down to 12. On Wall Street, there's some selling today. The Dow is down 50 points as the price of oil drops about $1 a barrel. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News Radio.
Good morning, KPNW. News Radio 1120 KPNW. It is KPNW Live and Local. Are you listening to KPNW? Wake up call on a Thursday. One of those busy days where if you don't have things going, and even if you do, you might want to kind of break away, and we'll talk more about that, just to kind of get you caught up with other things such that maybe will affect your day. Today, kind of a mild day. Not a lot of rain, just kind of there. It's a Thursday, getting closer to the weekend. Traffic-wise, if you should see anything that, is infringing on your commute, maybe let us know about it, because right now, about the only thing we have is 12 miles north of Sutherland now. Milepost 148 to 159. The northbound lanes are now doing the slowdown thing. So it was southbound before. Now the contractor doing some enhancements, we'll call it. So if you're coming up, say, between 148 and 159, expect congestion and a little bit of a slowdown. Everything else seems to be working good. You ready for ice cream?
I am ready for ice cream.
Okay. Soda Jerk Bill will be scooping the ice cream.
Hi, what kind of ice cream would you like with that? Hi. That's my Soda Jerk voice. Hi.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. Now I need is a white outfit with one of those funny cadet-type hats.
There you go. And I bet you have one somewhere.
Hi, would you like a cherry Coke with that?
Are you going to make a...
Make you a float?
A fizz? Wasn't there a something fizz?
I don't know.
Gary, was there a something fizz?
Yeah, you know... some sort
go
of
to the end of the
beverage
Soda Jerk and get a fizz, which was kind of like Club club soda with ice cream?
Past me. I don't know. I had club soda with ice cream?
Something like that.
That doesn't even sound good, does it?
No.
Well, flavor. I mean, they put flavors in it.
Still sounds awful.
So in other words, we're
and then they add gin to it.
So,
they call it a gin fizz. I don't know.
Oh, now we're talking.
Okay.
Is that what you're serving today, gin fizzes?
Oh, I don't like gin. Ugh.
You don't have to drink it, just serve it.
Not a gin.
This, by the way, might be a show that we have gone off course
so many times.
It's got to be a record.
I didn't realize this show had a course.
Well, it does on some days.
Yeah.
Of course.
We've got 3 or 4. We've had one diversion after the other.
You could tell that Sam was immediately taken off a game. Sam Carpenter, by the way.
Well, the lead. You're talking about the lead up. The lead-in
question. So, Sam, do you drink? It was sort of like, what? Where? What? I'm sure that he was expecting
taking it back. Yeah.
Yeah. That just kind of took him off his game a little bit there.
Yeah. He climbed back on.
Yeah. He recovered from it. I thought pretty well.
Was that your intention to kind of diffuse and kind of throw him off track to see how he recovered?
No, I was just kind of curious whether he drank or not. Since
Joe Ray doesn't
right,
drink or smoke,
right? The female Mark Callahan, because she doesn't drink or smoke, and she pointed out very strongly that she does not drink, she does not smoke.
Now, when you say female Callahan, are you talking about like voice or what's the comparison?
Well, that basically there is not a office that she tried to run for.
Oh, and the fact that he likes to run for.
Yeah. The only difference is she has not run for president yet.
Give her time.
Well, that's true. Now, Mark, on the other hand, has run for president.
Which would be awesome to say at parties. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I guess it would. Yeah, I was candidate for president once. How would you even respond to that?
Not so good at the psychiatrists, maybe.
Yeah. How would you, if at a party, if you said, yeah, I ran for president of the United States, and somebody said that, would you just kind of look at them strange? Or I don't know how I would engage that individual. Other than, so did you do it as a joke? Was it a lark?
Or Pat Paulson-esque?
Yeah. Was there a purpose for doing that?
How'd that go for you? How did you get any votes? Did you get any support? Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have Mark on to talk about that. Since
he's also running for office again. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So we'll have.
I think he may be running against Wyden as well.
Probably, and if he's not, he should be. It's like a drinking game.
What a crummy drinking game. You have to wait every 4 years just to take a swig. What kind of drinking game
I didn't say it was a good one. I just said it's a drinking game. All right, we got Mr. Connolly coming up, the president. Speaking of presidents, and Kerry.
I think even worse, an even worse drinking game would be taking a drink every time he gets a vote. But who's to say? Anyway,
well, if you're trying to get off the sauce,
right, that might be the way to do it.
Yeah.
Wow, talk about throwing under the bus. It's 8:10. We've got news coming up here in a matter of moments on the Wake Up Call.
It's a weird show. We're all over the place. 8:10.
Hi, I'm Bill London, Burrito Amigo's biggest fan, and here's a true food story. One day after the Wake Up Call, one of our staff members walked into the studio, fully admitting she had not visited Burrito Amigos and had ordered a beef breakfast burrito without a tortilla in a bowl. The phrase, "What is this stuff?" in a continuous chorus ensued. The consensus was that whatever was supposed to be in that burrito looked more like something pulled out of a clogged garbage disposal. Now, we could only identify egg. We think. We took pictures. Then another employee pointed out, with Burrito Amigos, when you bite into or open up a burrito, you can actually identify all the ingredients by sight. The Angus beef in the Machaca burrito looks like beef. The bacon is easily identifiable in the bacon burritos, along with the eggs and potatoes and peppers and everything else. Burrito Amigos serves real food that you can identify by sight and enjoy. Food should not be scary. It should be real, like at Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones in Eugene and Springfield.
I'm a firefighter.
A teacher.
I'm a farmer. I'm a barber.
A waitress. A mom. We're all part of your community. Every day we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life. It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty. Something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not. It's not about paranoia
or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We
trust our instincts.
Just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
This is News Radio 1120 KPNW. And we've got the local story in the morning wake-up call.
Good morning. This look at the news brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones, featuring great breakfast burritos and fresh brewed locally roasted coffee for a tasty start to your morning. Here's what's going on. Well, the cost of repairing the damage to the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge is soaring. Brad Ford leads us off.
Federal officials gave reporters a tour of the refuge to show the damage and progress making repairs. They say the septic system is clogged and will need significant repairs. The trench they dug and used as a latrine had to be cleaned out before it was refilled. Garbage was left in many of the buildings. Fences had to be replaced because they had been removed by the occupiers. There was damage to the visitors center. The total is more than $6 million, and that number is expected to go higher. Work continues to the visitors center to make it ready for the opening of the refuge later this year. Brad Ford, KPNW.
A massive diesel leak closed I-5 a few miles south of Albany after a tank on a semi-truck was breached by a pipe.
There were a few hundred gallons spilled.
Angela Beer-Seidel of the Oregon Department of Transportation says the truck was filled with about 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel while environmental crews cleaned up the spillage. Another fuel truck was called in and transferred the remaining fuel out. A busy day for a Eugene resident who now is in jail. 29-year-old Jason Duke entered the Royal Avenue Church by crawling through a first-floor window. Then he proceeded to make his way to the bell tower, setting things on fire. Police were able to catch the man, not because he was there when they arrived, but because he returned to the scene of the crime to retrieve his pants.
They received information the suspect had come back and was kicking the front door of the church. And then when the police actually arrived, an officer tried to contact the suspect multiple times, but he ran from him. And then the officer told the suspect that he was under arrest. And then when he tried to detain him, the suspect resisted.
Melinda McLaughlin of the Eugene Police Department says that he was eventually pepper sprayed and taken into custody. He was arrested on charges of first-degree arson, second-degree burglary, interfering with a police officer, resisting arrest. And if you're like me, you're asking yourself, were they missing drug charges? Maybe not. A Springfield man is facing charges after a crash. The University of Oregon Police Department pulled over Bruce Dudley because they say that he had a suspended license. That's when things got strange. After they had pulled him over and were taking information, he decided he was going to drive off, nearly hit one of the police officers. Then he slammed into a vehicle. He was arrested on multiple charges. A person is missing after a boating accident at the bar to Coos Bay. Brad Ford has that story.
The trawler is a 62-foot Patty AJ.
The vessel had capsized between the bar jetties down at the Coos Bay bar.
Coast Guard Petty Officer Amanda Norcross says witnesses saw 3 people on the deck as the boat turned and was swamped.
The 3 people who were tossed into the water, a Good Samaritan was able to pick them up shortly after, but there's still 1 person that's missing right now.
One of the people rescued was a representative from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. A diver searched the boat for the missing person, but was forced out because of debris. The boat had 20,000 pounds of Dover sole in its hold. Brad Ford, KPNW.
Over the course of a year, Oregon became home to thousands more people. Our population grew 1.5% within the year, nearly returning to growth rates from before the recession. That's according to the U.S. Census Bureau. The estimates included data from July 2014 to July 2015. Overall, Oregon's population increased about 58,000 people. That's 1.5% within the year. The state's population has climbed to more than 4 million. The fastest growing counties in the state were Deschutes and Crook County with a 3% growth rate, followed by Washington County at 2%. By the way, in terms of metro areas, the Bend-Redmond metropolitan area ranked 8th fastest growth in the nation. With a 2.9% population growth, that was also the fastest in the state. By comparison, on a countywide basis, Lane County had a fairly pedestrian increase of 1%, with around 4,400 people settling here. Lynn and Benton counties also grew by 1%. A number of eastern Oregon counties saw population declines. They include, among others, Baker, Lake, and Umatilla counties. Oregonians need to know that when they're driving to Washington State, you can't camp out in the left lane. Trooper Will Finn with the Washington State Police says an enhanced enforcement is underway.
We're looking for those that are camped out here. They're not passing anyone. There's no reason why they shouldn't be over in the other lane.
In Washington, you only can use the left lane if you're passing. Now, if you're caught, it's a $136 fine. Oregon legislators considered a similar law, but it didn't get enough votes to pass. Well, one Oregon congressman is fighting the TSA because they won't conduct security checks on passengers at the airport in Klamath Falls. Brad Ford reports.
When SkyWest left the Crater Lake Klamath Regional Airport, so did the TSA. But now Penn Air is considering daily flights to Portland, but the TSA won't return.
Unfortunately, TSA wouldn't do this on their own. They wouldn't do it in Klamath. They wouldn't do it in other small communities around the country.
Congressman Greg Walden sponsored the Treating Small Airports with Fairness Act to force the TSA back,
which should clear the path then for air service to come back to the Klamath Basin.
The bill is expected to get a vote on the House floor. It would require the TSA to offer screenings if a commercial carrier that left after 2013 plans to resume service within a year. Brad Ford, KPNW.
A Coast Guard helicopter crew rescued a 16-year-old boy who fell 200 feet while hiking near Multnomah Falls. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says the teen from Troutdale fell near the top of Angel's Rest Trailhead. A Coast Guard crew from Astoria was able to transport the boy to medical personnel at the Oregon Health Science University in Portland. Officials say an off-duty paramedic and emergency doctor were hiking in the area at the time and stabilized the teen on the side of a cliff. Talk about a couple of heroes and talk about a lucky young man. Officials say the teen suffered injuries to his head and his spine. Opponents of a proposed Nestle water bottling plant in the Columbia River Gorge are now facing an organized group of project supporters. The Coalition for a Strong Gorge Economy registered with the Oregon Secretary of State's office this month as the group in favor of the plant, while the Local Water Alliance continues pushing against the project. Hood River County voters will decide a ballot measure in May that would ban water bottling operations that produce over 1,000 gallons daily. Nestle plans on packaging about 11 times that amount in an hour. Nestle released a video on Twitter supporting the project as an economic driver. Opponents released their own video characterizing Nestle as a bully exploiting resources. Both sides are using airwaves and phones to spread their message. A Salem man who kidnapped his grandmother while high on meth is fighting the justice system. Brad Ford has the story.
He's refusing to go. Robert White refused to cooperate in court. He wouldn't talk with his attorney. He is charged with kidnapping his grandmother for 12 hours while being high on meth and holding a knife to his throat. His mother, Debbie White Tate, tells K2 News his problems are her fault because she used drugs while she was pregnant.
He's obviously developmentally disabled.
She says that he has undergone therapy and doctors tell her he's dealing with several problems.
ADHD, for one. He's bipolar.
He forced his grandmother to drive around while he threatened himself. Deputies eventually found their car and he was taken into custody. His grandmother wasn't hurt. I'm Brad Ford, KPNW.
Well, a man who burglarized a Portland home and was found sitting on a toilet with a knife in his hand has been sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. 35-year-old Ryan Kane was sentenced after pleading no contest to 2 counts of first-degree burglary. According to court records, Kane had broken into a residence in November and was found by the homeowner in the bathroom, sitting on the throne, holding a knife. The 2 men got into a fight. The resident was able to grab Kane's knife and get him to leave the house. Kane told the judge he was high on methamphetamine at the time. "Knocked me over with a feather." Kane's attorney says his client has struggled with substance abuse, but until now has never been violent. And the Solve Oregon Spring Beach cleanup is coming up this Saturday, with thousands of volunteers going to the Oregon coast to clean up debris that washed up during the winter. Kayleen Boyle says you want to watch the forecast and dress for the weather.
If you're coming out to the beach, we want to make sure that you bring a water bottle to stay hydrated, some snacks, and then just make sure you know where you're going. We have 45 check-in sites.
Solve provides the bags, the gloves, and the instructions. Like, for instance, bend over, pick up cigarette butt, put it in the bag, repeat. They'd like you to register on their website, but you can show up in one of the locations. The hours for the cleanup are Saturday from 10 to 1. It's 8:22. This Look at the News brought to you by Burrito Amigos, the friendly ones. You're up to date from KPNW.
Wake Up Call Sports on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
The folks in Bethel are familiar with the talents of Lexi Bando, as she is a graduate of Willamette High School. The Utah Utes refamiliarized themselves with Lexi. She landed 6 three-pointers on the way to 34 points for the Oregon women as the basketball team dumped Utah 73-63 in third-round WNIT action at Matthew Knight last night. Wasn't a cakewalk as Oregon was down early by 9. Ducks advanced to the quarterfinals. Will play either TCU or UTEP. All of this without Jillian Aline out with the torn ACL. Western Oregon, the men, the Wolves, out of Monmouth, just north of Corvallis, has made it to the Division II Final Four after ripping Saginaw Valley State 81-68. They'll play the number 2 seed Augustana of South Dakota tonight. Oregon men will try to oust the NC2A defending national champs in Duke tonight, 7:07. They'll be trying to foil 6'9" Brandon Ingram, one of the best players in the country, averaging 17-7. A meaty 7-footer in Marshall Plumlee and Grayson Allen, all under the tutelage and vision of legendary Coach K. Hopefully Dana will be able to channel Norman Dale. Hoosier fans will know who that is. Oregon softball team, 27 games into their season, and tonight they have their first game at home at the shiny new Jane Sanders Stadium, replacing Howe Field. They'll play Stanford. A Sheridan Hawkins, not the Sheridan of seasons past, got an ERA of 3.3 compared to the 1.63 of the previous 3 seasons. Oregon Duck men, the track and field team, has been ranked number 1 with Edward Cheserek and Devin Allen leading the way. The women, number 2 behind LSU, and the Blazers whipped up on the Mavericks 109-103 at home last night. Damian Lillard, 27 points. Wake Up Call Sports, live and local, brought to you by Max Muscle, the authority in nutrition since 1991. Across Franklin from Market of Choice in Eugene. News time, 8:24.
KPNW weather, brought to you by Ramjack West. Do you have foundation problems? Ramjack can fix that. Get your free quote at ramjackwest.com.
Good morning. If you're headed out that door in the next few minutes, you're already out and about. We've got a few lingering showers on radar off and on out there, but most of the energy starting to wind down from last night's storm system and cold front. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies. Temps from the mid to low 40s with light winds out of the southwest at 5 to 10. This afternoon, I actually expect a few hours of partly cloudy skies, but we also keep a 40% chance of showers as well as maybe 1 or 2 rogue thunderstorms. None of it looks to be severe, though. We're not looking at a whole lot of rain. We only picked up about 1/3 of an inch overnight, and we're only expecting trace amounts unless you get a storm directly over you. Now, highs this afternoon look to be in the mid-50s across the region, thanks to that same cold front from last night. We are tracking another storm system set to move in Saturday night into your Sunday morning, so if you're planning to do those Easter egg hunts, you may want to hold off until the afternoon. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation in the NBC 16 Weather Center, hoping you have a great day.
Having trouble with those last few pounds? Or maybe you just need a boost of energy? Get to Max Muscle for Emerge. The taste is awesome, there's tons of flavors, and it's buy one, get one half off during the month of March. It's only at Max Muscle, 2001 Franklin Boulevard in Eugene.
Ramjack leads the way in foundation repair. Protect your investment. Get your free in-home evaluation at ramjackwest.com. Check out our exceptional online reviews, then choose Ramjack.
CCB 146906.
The Easter season is a time of hope, which makes it the perfect time to consider a gift to the Eugene Mission. Because when you give to the Eugene Mission, you give rise to hope. The Eugene Mission is the area's only wellness center for the homeless. We treat the causes of homelessness, not just the symptoms. And when those we serve get well, all of Eugene Springfield gets well. Give rise to hope by donating today at eugenemission.org. The Eugene Mission. Hope rising.
Hurry into SM Gun Shop for March savings. 40 caliber handguns, 10% off. All other guns are $20 off. Reloading powder just in from Hodgdon, IMR, Winchester, and Alliance will stock up now. SM Gun Shop, Lane County's most established gun store on River Road in Eugene.
When you take the train, there's no telling what adventures await you. But that didn't stop us from speculating. Here's how it works, Mary. You tell me what you do aboard Amtrak Cascades, and I'll use my powers of prognostication to predict your path. Still game?
I'm game.
While riding the train, do you A, relax in your seat, or B, visit the bistro car?
Relax in my seat.
Catch some Z's, or be productive?
Be productive.
Open a book or your laptop?
Laptop.
Email or blog?
Blog.
Okay, here goes. While blogging in your comfy leather chair, you're moved by the sweeping views of the mossy megalopolis that is Oregon. You start building tiny train terrariums with native moss and even make punny t-shirts like, don't forget to moss.
Wow, that's pretty specific.
Yeah, it's a gift. Amtrak Cascades. See what happens from Eugene to Portland for less than $20 one way. Start your adventure at amtrak.com/see what happens. Restrictions may apply.
With River Road Health Mart Pharmacy and their MedSync service, they're able to help you save time and money by coordinating all your prescriptions into one easy monthly pickup.
Managing all my medications didn't fit into my busy schedule, so my River Road Health Mart pharmacist coordinated all my prescriptions into one convenient pickup. Now I only have to make one trip per month. They will even deliver them to my home or work.
Visit River Road Health Mart Pharmacy at 884 River Road in Eugene today. For more information or to transfer your current prescriptions, visit online at pharmacyeugene.com. Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
The Wake Up Call with Holloway in London on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
News Radio 1120 KPNW. 4 words. Stuart Anderson's Black Angus. And we all shrug. Gary Connolly, as always, joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning on a Thursday. Welcome back.
With a shrug.
With a shrug, yep. That's all it is. 4 words, Stuart Anderson's Black Angus. All right, so we're going to talk about bell curves and tails.
Tail risk.
Tail risk. Well, but you have to understand what tails are to understand what a tail risk is and what a bell curve is.
Right.
So for whatever reason, you were thinking about this, and yesterday when you emailed me, it was sort of like, huh? And it was an interesting email exchange, and I went, oh, okay, I guess I get it now. So I'm curious, what even got you thinking about this?
Well, let's see. What did get me thinking about tail risk again? Saudi Arabia, for one thing.
Yeah.
And Japan for the other.
Okay. All right. And what was it, before we get into some definitions, what is it that's going on in Japan that made you think tail risk?
Well, the Japanese now have negative interest rates. They've got a debt that's north of 200% of the GDP. It's conceivable that they could get downgraded again by Moody's and Standard & Poor's. It's an A+ credit now. If it gets downgraded too much farther, then the Japanese government bonds conceivably could become a junk bond. If they become a junk bond, which means something that's rated below BBB by Standard & Poor's, then they're no longer good collateral. And that could cause some systemic problems.
Systemic problems, obviously, for them. Systemic problems for other countries as well?
Well, probably for everybody, because the stuff is pretty well hooked together right now.
Okay.
If all of a sudden Japanese government bonds aren't good collateral and they're written into certain derivative contracts, then those contracts become null and void, and we've got, I don't know, maybe 900 trillion of those outstanding now, a giant number. So anyway, probably doesn't happen, but it would be what's called a tail risk.
Okay. So then let's kind of discuss what tails we're talking about, and it has to do with the bell curve.
Yeah, many people are familiar with the bell curve, which takes simply a lot of data points and plots them along a curve that's basically got a big hump in the middle, and tails or small distributions on the end. And you could look at, for example, if you look, let's say, at the net worth or the incomes of everybody in the country. The median or the middle of the curve would be somewhere around, I think, about $49,000 or $50,000 now.
Okay.
And most people fall somewhere around that. Okay. And that's the fat part of the curve, the hump. Again, I think a lot of people are probably familiar with this. The tails are the skinny part of the curve way out at the end. And on the right-hand tail would be somebody who's, really rich, who's got an income, let's say, of something on the order of $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, $1 billion a year.
Okay.
Out on the right-hand tail would be people with practically no income. People out there would be, let's say, the
me.
Well, no, not you. No,
Me and Rob.
No, you guys are in the fat part of the curve. The guys out on that tail are out pushing shopping carts.
Okay, like
Okay.
I said, Rob and me.
Yeah. Okay.
Rob
All
and
right.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, we're the only people known on the planet that were holding a sign that said "We'll work for food,"
beer.
and they actually took us up on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
They actually expected work. Not that we've ever delivered, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, so.
But I digress.
So if you look at a bell-shaped curve and you look at the possibilities, let's say, for oil prices, where maybe the middle of the curve or the fat part of the curve is from where we are now, 35, 40 to maybe, let's say, 80.
Okay.
In this particular case. So there is some small possibility or tail risk that the price of oil might go, let's say, to $5 a barrel.
Okay, that would be bad.
Yeah, and that would be, if you had some kind of a world economic collapse based on the Japanese. It's a tail risk, but that's one thing that might cause it. And what would happen in that case would be that demand would collapse. There still would be a lot of supply, and so maybe you get $5 a barrel. Okay, on the other tail, on the left-hand tail, would be a price of maybe $200 or $250 a barrel, something like that. Not a very high chance that that happens either, but the tail risk there would be, let's say, that Saudi Arabia comes flying apart, and all of a sudden there's even more chaos in the Middle East than there is now, and the supply craters. There's a show that's running in Europe, or ran in the last couple days, that's really a documentary on Saudi Arabia that's going to run on, I think, going to run on Frontline within the next week or so. And if you think about these things, it's likely worth watching, because while there's not there's not probably a great risk that Saudi Arabia flies apart, there's not no risk either, and so that would become a tail risk. If the Shiites out in the area with the where the oil wells are in Saudi Arabia, and they're about 20% of the population, and that's where they live, rose up and set the wells on fire, set the fields on fire, the way Saddam Hussein did to Kuwait, then you'd probably have a big spike in the price of oil. So mostly when we talk about muddle through, whether it's the economy or anything else, you're talking about staying in the fat part of the bell-shaped curve. Okay. The more likely the more unlikely things that happen wind up out on the tails.
Yeah.
And so the risk that something out on one end or the other of the distribution of possibilities is what's called tail risk.
Okay. So important to know this, because let me phrase that differently. How does one take advantage of that for one's own benefit?
Well, the first thing that you do is understand that tail risk exists, and you don't have to, I think the guy was, maybe even eventually was the head of the physics department at the U of O. I sat next to on a plane a long, long time ago, And I said, well, I'm really interested in quantum mechanics, but I don't understand it because I can't do the math. And his comment was, oh, the math is just arguing about the details. You understand the concepts. And so it's the same thing with this bell-shaped curve, which is really called Gaussian distribution. First thing to understand is that there are kind of unquantifiable risks out on the tails of any distribution, whether it's oil prices, stock prices, incomes, what have you. And just because they are unlikely doesn't mean that they can't or won't happen. The thing is, when you get hit with a tail risk, something out on either end, that becomes opportunity. Okay? If you've got cash, which is basically a call on opportunity. So if oil prices went to $5 a barrel, it seems highly unlikely to me that they're going to stay there. And so there would be some investment/speculation opportunities based on that. Okay, it would be the same thing if oil went to $200 a barrel or $250 a barrel. It seems almost impossible that it would stay there because the fracking industry, which is damped down at this point in the United States and other places, would come into play. So the thing about tail risk is, one, to know it exists so that you're not caught with all of your chips and get destroyed in a tail risk. But the other thing is to know that there's opportunity out there.
Okay, well, I get the opportunity if you've got oil prices at $5 a barrel. It seems to me that the opportunity on the other end of the bell curve would be that you've invested in oil well before you get to that $200 a barrel mark, because I mean that's when you're raking in the dough. So where is the opportunity once you're already at the end of that tail?
Well, it would be to be short. In other words, to sell it short as opposed to buy something out there. If you already own something and it goes to $200 a barrel, then you would sell it. Probably for most people, as good a lesson in short selling, although it's not nearly as good as the book, would be the movie The Big Short. And it will tell you something about tail risk as well as something about short selling. It's a movie that I think was reasonably popular, is it not?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. A lot of people raved about it.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like what you would call popular in terms of raking in a lot of dough, but it was well done and people that saw it liked it.
Yeah, okay, and it's worth it's worth renting, or once it becomes free, it's worth watching because you can learn something.
But is it worth shoplifting? Just kidding. Just kidding. I was kidding. It was a joke.
You're really on your game today.
Yeah, it was.
Is it worth shoplifting? No, nothing's worth shoplifting.
There you go. That's the right answer.
Because the tail risk is you'll get caught
and go to jail.
Yeah, well, or at least be besmirched.
Right, and then it will be difficult for you to get a job.
Might be difficult, or even more difficult, as the case may be.
There you go. Exactly.
But we digress. So,
I do. You do.
There are two ways to, you can be on either side of the market. Being short's very, very difficult because it's hard on you psychologically, and as with any of these tail risks, the timing is totally uncertain. First, you don't know if they will hit, and secondly, even if they do in the fullness of time, you don't know when. We're back to another mathematical concept that we've talked about before called the sandpile game.
Oh, yeah.
Or what's actually unstable non-equilibrium systems. So we know, for example,
what can I just briefly say? What he means by that is you start dropping a grain of sand and you get a pile, and eventually you will get to a point where you drop that grain of sand and the whole thing collapses. It may be a small portion of it, or it may be a huge portion of it, but eventually you will get some sort of collapse.
Yeah, you'll get some sort of collapse or a series of collapses, and you don't know when and you don't know what size.
Right.
Okay, so it would be something like waiting for the earthquake. okay, for the big one. I mean, we know it's coming. We just don't know when.
Right.
So, and that's, that's unknowable. That is a tail risk for today, a tail risk for tomorrow, but given the fullness of time, it's not a tail risk.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but the point about the $200 oil price is that you can either buy something and hope to sell it later at a higher price, or you can borrow something and sell it and hope to buy it back at a cheaper price. Profit either way.
How do the successful people, like the Warren Buffetts, judge that now is the time to get in on one of these tails? What do they know that the average investor doesn't?
Well, the only thing that you really can do, since you can't time these tail risks, and the timing of all kinds of things in the markets and investments are very uncertain. Again, you go back and look at the Big Short and how long it took for that to collapse, the mortgage market to collapse after a lot of people really realized that it was going to. About the only thing that the average guy can do is wait and buy something when it's truly cheap. And now we're talking about, if we talk about oil prices, again, we're at the $5, we're something out on the right-hand tail. And that's what Buffett did before he got so rich that he became a crony capitalist, but was just simply be able to recognize things that were cheap in an absolute basis and buy them then. Okay. The problem psychologically is that you'll be going against the whole world, because the case for something going even lower never looks better than when it's at the bottom. So you've got to have, number one, you've got to know what really is cheap. And secondly, you have to have the courage of your convictions and be willing to kind of hold your gut and put your money on the table. But for the average guy, about all you can do is sit and wait until something is truly cheap.
Does everything follow a particular cycle? I mean, okay, you can talk about a bell curve and we're applying it to oil, but let's say that you apply it to, I don't know, corn. Are you always at one point or another going to get to a tail in regards to that particular thing or that particular distribution? Or are there things that always sort of sit within, reasonable range of that median that never reach the tail?
Well, most things
reach a tail.
Very, very occasionally. The other concept that goes along with this bell curve is something called standard deviation.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Okay,
before.
So the middle of the standard deviation is a calculation away from the absolute middle of the curve. Okay, 2 standard deviations from the mean gets you out to, I don't know, what, about 90% or low 90%. And so you can, with stocks or with all kinds of things, you can look at something called Bollinger Bands. And all they are is a band that's 2 standard deviations from the mean, either higher or lower. And when you get something that gets out to 2 standard deviations from the mean, out against one of these Bollinger Bands on a chart, then it's the time to start looking at it.
Okay, so our nugget here today is?
The nugget is learn about tail risk and try to learn about what things are really worth and watch for stuff that's cheap. Just realize that it can take a very long time and you're not going to recognize it from the stuff that's in the median.
Uh-oh, media thrown under the bus.
Again.
God, just forever. That's going to wrap it up. It is 8:44. We'll see you next Thursday.
I'll be here.
It's News Radio 1120 KPNW.
The Bloomberg Market Report, sponsored by Pacific Continental Bank, serving your business and community in Eugene for over 40 years.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Wall Street's week ends today, and it's ending on a down note. The Dow down 45 points, the Nasdaq down a fraction, and the S&P down 6. All three averages are heading for their first losing week in 6 weeks. A strategist at Stifel Nicholas says the market doesn't have anything to move it forward right now, so it's sliding backward. What we do have is the Labor Department's look at jobless claims. Applications for benefits climbed to 265,000 last week, which is a level economists are quite comfortable with, as it shows hiring managers still prefer to maintain and build their staffs for the most part. There is also some less encouraging news to consider on the health of manufacturing. U.S. factories received fewer orders for machinery, communications gear, and other long-lasting goods last month. And that was true even when aircraft orders, which can fluctuate quite a bit month to month, are left out of the equation. I'm Adrienne Mitchell, Bloomberg Radio.
Pacific Continental Bank is proud to call the Eugene Springfield area home for more than 40 years. As your local banker, partner, and neighbor, we are committed to the health and sustainability of your business and our community. We know it takes more than a loan or deposit to help you succeed. It takes people who know you, your business, and your community. Who says we can't be more than a bank? Pacific Continental Bank, the right bank. Learn more at therightbank.com. Member FDIC.
If you've dreamed of owning an RV, let the RV Corral help make those dreams come true. The RV Corral is Eugene's largest Winnebago dealer for motorhomes and lightweight travel trailers. Over 200 new and pre-owned motorhomes, fifth wheels, travel trailers, and campers. All Class A and C motorhomes are on sale now. With local owners for 28 years and all local employees, the RV Corral will be there to help you make your RV dreams come true. Easy to find on Highway 99, 1 mile south of Beltline. Buy anywhere else, you'll pay too much.
How long would you wait for your shower to get hot? How long would you wait for your cell phone to fully charge? How long would you wait to get relief from your nasal congestion? If you're congested now and you want powerful relief now, use Afrin No Drip. Afrin starts working in seconds and keeps working for 12 hours. So why wait? When you can start to get relief in seconds with Afrin. Afrin, powerful congestion relief without the wait. Use as directed. For more information, go to Afrin.com.
I've been teaching organic chemistry for the last 17 years, so I'm pretty good with complex calculations. But when I started thinking about my retirement, I was pretty stumped. Luckily, I have TIAA as my financial partner. Together, we retrosynthetically analyzed my financial future, which is organic chem speak for we figured it out.
See how we're helping those who do good do well at the new TIAA.org. TIAA, created to serve, built to perform.
So I'm thinking there's a lot of people out there that read in bed. You get your little light, prop up a pillow, or maybe your bed props up. I'm just thinking that if you're going to be accustomed to that and thinking that you will be able to do that with your Sleep Train mattress, you might have to do what I did and find a different spot, a different place to do your reading, because your mattress is going to be really comfortable and you're going to associate your subconscious with getting Z's, and you'll be like maybe 1 page, 2, and you're out and you're done. Or you're reading the same line over and over and over. Go check out what a Sleep Train mattress feels like. I don't know that you can really get the whole idea unless you do it like a 3-hour test lay. Just take a siesta. They're pretty patient over there at Sleep Train. The Triple Choice Sale ending soon. We're talking about 3 choices very quickly. 3 ways to save. $300 off Beauty Rest and Posturepedic mattress sets. $300 in free gifts with any Tempur-Pedic mattress. Your choice of, say, premium sheets, supportive pillows, or number 3, no money, no interest for up to 4 years on Beauty Rest Black Hybrid, a Sleep Train luxury exclusive. Go there and check it out. Sleep Train in Eugene, Springfield, Corvallis, and Salem, and tell them you're like this with the Wake Up Call.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
The Wake Up Call on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
All right, before we send you off, talk a little basketball. The number 1 seeded Oregon men involved tonight with the defending national champions, the Duke Blue Devils, in a Sweet 16 game. To talk about it from the Bleacher Report, college basketball expert Kerry Miller joining us. Kerry, good morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
As a BR writer, an analyst, and a sports fan, for drama, storylines, and the ability to engage the non-college football basketball fan, kind of grade what you think the March Madness is shaped up to be so far.
I think it's been at worst an A-. I think we're in great shape with such an incredible Sweet 16, even though there was chaos in the first 2 rounds. I think pretty much a microcosm of the whole thing, you look at the left side of the bracket, and Duke is arguably the worst team left in the field. From those 8 teams, that's pretty ridiculous given how many upsets there were the first few days of the tournament. So I think we got the best of both worlds. Just an outstanding first weekend, and we should have another one this weekend.
All right, you say Duke is like the worst team that's left in the field, and yet, number 4 seed, you got Coach K and arguably some of the best players in the country. You can't count them out. Talk about how these 2 teams match up. Of course, Duke with number 1 seeded Oregon.
Yeah, worst is a tough way to put it. I mean, they're maybe the 8th best out of those remaining teams, but I mean, I think the 8 teams on the left side of the bracket are definitely among the top 15 or 20 in the entire country this season. So it's not like Duke is bad by any means, but I think this one really comes down to how many guys decide to show up for Oregon. They only had, it was really Dylan Brooks and Elgin Cook in the round of 32 game against St. Joseph's, and they have way more horses than that. If Chris Boucher plays well, that really affects what Brandon Ingram's able to do. If Tyler Dorsey does more earlier in the game, he had some good moments late against the Hawks, but if he's playing well throughout, I think he's a much better freshman point guard than Derek Thornton is. If they're just defending better, I think they're too good and too deep for Duke's just shallow rotation. Oregon has struggled with 3-point defense. That's something that Duke will really key in on. Yeah. I'd be surprised if Duke takes fewer than maybe even 35 3-point attempts in this game. But obviously at that point, it just comes down to how many of them are actually going in.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's going to be interesting who steps up on defense because the Ducks are 43rd, and Duke, which I was surprised to see, is 110th. So I think probably the over is going to be taken by a lot of gamblers out there.
Probably be a good idea. I think that Duke will definitely need Marshall Plumlee to stay in the game. I think Coach K will be telling him over and over again, do not foul at all costs, because if he gets into trouble, Oregon's just going to destroy them in the paint the whole rest of the game. That
is hilarious. That's like one of the funniest things said all show long. Do not foul. Have you seen the referees? I mean, I think you get a foul for just walking out there and walking on the half court line rudely. It's been atrocious. So, I mean, it definitely comes down to foul trouble. But we asked Luke Jackson, former Duck, yesterday, who is now a head coach. Coach Carey, let's kind of get your take. If you were to want to get that game plan out there on the chalkboard to shut down Plumlee and Duke, how would you go about doing it for Oregon?
I think it's going to be just tough because I think Duke is going to spread it out. I think they're going to have basically an umbrella offense type situation with 4 guys on the perimeter and then just Plumlee down there trying to get offensive rebounds. I don't know who's going to individually go up against him. I assume it'll be Boucher, and he'll be able to block shots like crazy like he always does. But really going to come down to how much does the rebounds ricochet, because Oregon's not a great defensive rebounding team, and they're not a great 3-point defense, as I mentioned earlier. So if Duke just really commits to shooting the threes, if Plumlee's grabbing offensive rebounds, that's a lot more points, more opportunities for Duke. But I think that Oregon needs to beat Duke with its offense. If Dylan Brooks is doing great things, I don't know who on Duke can possibly guard him. I was saying Boucher earlier, just a 6'10" shot blocker with 3-point range. Nobody has a guy who can individually man up a player like that. He's the closest thing we have to Frank Kaminsky from last year, just in terms of that versatility.
Wow.
So with Duke's lack of depth, I think it's going to be a problem. Like I said, if there's any early foul trouble, that's always going to be a problem for Duke. I think the more that we see of Chase Jeter, the less Duke's chances of winning become.
Yeah, good point. Ultimately, who do you have moving on? Who have you predicted to win?
I have Oregon winning. I think with the way that I'm talking, that shouldn't be surprising. But I really loved Oregon this season. I watched a lot of them, probably a good 15 games for Lord only knows what reason out in Virginia. There's no reason I should be watching that many Pac-12 games, but I've loved what they've done all season long, as they play better than they did against St. Joseph's. I think they were on point against Holy Cross. They were obviously on point in the Pac-12 tournament against Utah. If that team shows up instead of the one that came against St. Joseph's, they should be able to beat Duke.
The thing that I think every Oregon Duck fan is fearful of them just being kind of awestruck when they get out there and they see Coach K and the Duke Blue Devils. I mean, it's just there's that whole mystique element that I think you can't really account for. That you just hope that they can maybe, for 5 or 10 minutes that they're kind of blown away, but then they get back to playing basketball.
I don't think that'll be a problem. Oregon certainly doesn't have a scrub of a head coach. Dana Altman's one of the most underappreciated head coaches for the last decade. He'll have his guys ready to go. I think Boucher is just such a key to everything. He did nothing against St. Joseph's. I don't even know if he blocked a shot.
2 points. He had three block shots, but
he
2
had
points.
3 blocks?
Yeah.
Okay. And Jordan Bell didn't score. He had a few rebounds. Everybody, they have such a great 7-man rotation. They just need at least 4 of those guys to show up for this game. I think that at that point they have too much depth for Duke to handle.
Kerry, who makes it to the championship and who wins?
I had Kansas over Michigan State initially. I'm going to have to change my mind on the latter half of that.
Yeah, you had a lot of people.
Yeah, I was saying before the tournament began that UNC, Michigan State, and Kansas, if you don't have at least 2 of those 3 in your Final Four, you're probably doing something wrong. So I guess I'll have to change my Michigan State pick to North Carolina. That would be for one heck of a storyline for Roy Williams and company between the Tar Heels and the Jayhawks.
Yeah. Hey, good stuff. BleacherReport.com. If you want to check out his stuff, he is Kerry Miller. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
All right, game time 7:07 tonight. Ducks taking on Duke. Hopefully we'll have good things to talk about tomorrow morning, which we'll join again 6:05 right here on KPNW.
When you're ready for a new vehicle, visit GuaranteeCars.com and shop, click, and drive. Now you can use your keyboard or mobile device to get the keys to a new or used car or truck from the comfort of anywhere, anytime. Search Guarantee's vast inventory. Then choose your car or truck, click the Create Your Deal button, and you're on your way to a new era of car buying. It's easy, convenient, takes only minutes, and walks you through the entire buying process. You can even estimate payments and trade-in values. Plus, you'll see all current offers and incentives and all applicable fees. Your new vehicle is only a few clicks away. A Silverado, Colorado, Camaro, even a Cruze. Try the Spark or the revolutionary Chevy Volt. Try Shop, Click, and Drive between now and March 31st and get a coupon for 15% off any car or truck accessory in stock. Eggs are cheaper in the country, and so are cars and trucks at GuaranteeCars.com. Shop, Click, and Drive today. Offer expires March 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers.
Depend on us for breaking news from the local neighborhood to the global one. We are News Radio 1120 KPNW, Eugene, Springfield.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. 7 hackers tied to Iran's government, now charged with cyber attacks in the U.S.
A campaign to disrupt and disable dozens of financial institutions at the heart of the U.S. financial system, many based in New York City.
Also targeting control of a suburban dam, what U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara calls a frightening new frontier for cybercrime. Just before announcing that indictment, Attorney General Loretta Lynch saying the U.S. stands with Brussels and the world.
In condemning these appalling attacks and in offering our support and condolences in any way that we can.
And as the manhunt continues for 2 possible bombing suspects, 2 top Belgian officials try to resign at an emergency security meeting. Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher live in Brussels.
Lisa, Belgian Justice Minister Kern Greens and Interior Minister Jan Jambon attempted to leave their jobs but were asked to stay on. Jambon saying if you put all things in a row, you can ask yourself major questions about Belgium's handling the threat of Islamic extremists. Prime Minister Charles Michel asked Jambon and Greens to stay on given the current security situation here. The country is on its highest security level. Brussels International Airport will remain closed through Monday. Lisa.
Thanks, Jessica. The FBI chief says even if the Apple case is resolved, solved, the larger encryption debate has to be addressed. Fox Radio's Jared Halpern live in Washington.
As the FBI tussled with Apple over cracking into the San Bernardino shooter's iPhone, the agency got some help from what the FBI Director James Comey calls a marketplace of creative people.
Lots of folks have come to us with potential ideas. It looks like we now have one that may work out. We're optimistic, and we'll see.
Comey is responding to accusations the FBI rushed to federal court before exhausting every effort to get into the phone without a so-called backdoor from Apple. Lisa.
Jared, late word of a gang sweep in Boston. Morning raids rounding up 27 reputed gang members on federal drug and gun charges. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends.
In biology,
In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today.
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from
Northwest Burger inside the 5th Street Market features burgers so amazing they're an experience all their own. Freshly ground meat and local produce combined with the creativity of local chef Garrett Kirsch makes for a burger experience like no other. You'll get mouth-watering goodness in every single bite. Check out their menu and photos on Facebook. Northwest Burger, located in the 5th Street Market. It's not just a burger, it's an experience.
Sun Automotive is proud to sponsor the Northwest edition of Lars Larson. Sun Automotive, with locations in Eugene and Springfield, reminds you, stay safe on the road, keep your car well maintained, and don't text and drive. Sun Automotive.
Hi, I'm Ryan Seacrest for RAD. Over 300 people in this country are killed every week by a drunk driver. That's the equivalent of 2 747 plane crashes every single week. And the problem isn't going away unless we all do our part to stop it. So if you see someone who's about to drive after drinking, get the keys. Don't leave it up to anyone else. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. You see me around the neighborhood, and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm 1 out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger.
Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help.
Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me. We are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
What is today? Today's the day you do absolutely nothing. Put it on silent nothing, because you aren't one to let chore time get in the way of your time. And that's why you use Echo Outdoor Power Equipment. Save 20% on all Echo Pro Grade string trimmers, chainsaws, and blowers during the Echo one-day sales event, and take the hassle out of yard work.
Visit McKenzie Power Equipment in Springfield for their Echo one-day sales event on Saturday, March 26th, starting at 9 a.m. and take advantage of 20% off select Echo and Shindawa units. That's Saturday, March 26th at McKenzie Power Equipment.
Hi, this is Brian Sutherland, owner of AMCO Transmissions in Springfield. For years, AMCO in Springfield has been repairing your cars and trucks' most complicated system, the transmission. So it's no wonder people come to us with all sorts of problems. Don't take any chances. Bring your car to AMCO in Springfield. We'll diagnose it right, repair it for a fair price, and back it with a nationwide warranty. Whether it's your car, truck, or motorhome, call AMCO Springfield, 541-726-6824, or find us on Facebook. That's AAMCO.
And now, Katy Perry!
Imagine going on stage with nothing and being expected to roar. It's the same with our teachers who are using their own money so students can learn. DonorsChoose.org helps teachers and students succeed.
Join Katy Perry at MakeRoarHappen.com.
It's 9:06 and time for Rush. Rush Limbaugh on News Radio 1120 KPNW.
Hey, folks, welcome back. Great to have you. Been looking forward to the program beginning ever since it ended yesterday. And here we are, 21 hours later, revved and ready to go. As always, great to have you here. And looking forward to chatting with you when we go to the phones. The telephone number is 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Just a couple of headlines, let you know what's coming here. From thehill.com, vocal Trump critics in GOP open to supporting Clinton. There are so many See I Told You So's today. This is going to be stunning. There's an NFL See I Told You So coming up in mere moments. Then there's this. Vocal Trump critics in GOP open to supporting Clinton. And then this in the Politico. Shadow campaign to deny Trump his delegates begins. Told you all of this was on tap. All of this was going to be happening. And I want to take you back to May the 9th, 2014. May 9th, 2014. Coming up on almost, not quite, but almost 2 years ago. See if you remember me saying this. He wasn't drafted yesterday, the openly gay Michael Sam, and now there's panic throughout the media wondering if he will be. Don't doubt me on this. He's going to be drafted. He's going to get drafted today. I just hope it's by the Redskins. What are you shaking your head for in there? Anyway, he's going to get drafted. There's no mystery to this. He will get drafted. Michael Sam wasn't drafted yesterday. And that means he's going to be drafted today. No matter how it happens, it's going to happen. Michael Sam, the first openly gay player to announce prior to the draft that he was gay, and entered the draft in that way. And in the pre-draft run-up, there were all kinds of professional assessments that even though he had been the Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC, just didn't have what it took. Didn't have the size, didn't have the speed to play a defensive end or outside linebacker in the NFL, just was not going to excel there as a pass rusher. I mean, that's what all the smart people said. And it didn't matter to me. I knew he was going to be drafted. He had to be drafted. There was something in the works. It was going to happen. I didn't pretend to know what it was. I could have guessed. But he was going to be drafted. The NFL was going to see to it that he was drafted. And we learned from Howard Balzer, who is he's an aging sports writer. He's from St. Louis, I think. If he's the right Howard Balzer, he used to be the Sporting News. I don't know who he is. Who's he with now? I'm not sure, but he's still around. Anyway, he's got a story that the Rams made a deal with the NFL to draft Michael Sam in order to not have to be participating in the HBO show Hard Knocks. A longtime NFL reporter, I thought you knew this. They're staring at me with blank faces across the glass. With everything going on, what are you talking about this for? Because it's a See I Told You So. A longtime NFL reporter revealed yesterday that the NFL agreed to a deal where the St. Louis Rams didn't have to do Hard Knocks on HBO if they drafted Michael Sam. Howard Balzer tweeted, sources say the NFL agreed not to have Rams on Hard Knocks in 2014 if they drafted Michael Sam. Michael Sam, they asked him about it. He said, I'm not shocked about this. I'm not surprised at all. Howard Balzer reported the NFL was concerned that Michael Sam wouldn't be drafted. They couldn't have that. Here comes the first openly gay player being celebrated by the drive-bys and everybody. The NFL can't afford not to draft the guy. In their minds, they can't do. In their PR-related, they can't afford not to. But no team wanted him because of the professional assessment that he just wasn't professional caliber. That didn't matter. And so the news here is that the league threatened the Rams with Hard Knocks. Some teams want to be on Hard Knocks because it promotes, it sells tickets, it does this, it gets a team on the map. A lot of teams don't want any part of Hard Knocks because it's a distraction. I mean, if you're a coach, the last thing you want is a bunch of cameras and cameramen and sound people. All it is an interruption. You know as well as I do that you put a camera on a street corner and what otherwise would happen changes. Once people see the camera, they start playing to it. They can't erase the fact that it's there. And so it changes what happens. NFL coaches will say, look, I don't want these guys playing to the camera. I don't want them thinking they're being spied on. And I don't want this video footage being taken here to end up with the Patriots. That's what all coaches say. I don't want the footage that these guys being given to competing teams. So it's a very few number of teams that want to do Hard Knocks. So the league came along and said, Rams, you're doing Hard Knocks unless you draft Sam. They said, no question, we'll draft Sam. And let's put a little exclamation on point on this. Do you know who is doing Hard Knocks this coming season? The Los Angeles Rams. And what do you think that's all about? No, it's because you guys want to move to St. Louis? You want to get out of, move to Los Angeles, you want to get out of St. Louis, move to L.A., fine. Remember that Hard Knocks deal with Sam? It's doubling back on you guys. You want us to vote for your move to L.A.? Fine, you got to do Hard Knocks. Okay, when you measure it that way, we'll gladly do Hard Knocks. Isn't this circuitously humorous the way it all happens? But I'm just playing you to see, I told you so, because I knew. It's another sterling, shining example why you should not doubt me when I make these prognostications, predictions. And no matter how sure of myself, I know that the more sure of myself I sound to certain people, the more off-putting it is. Because nobody's supposed to be that sure of themselves. I get that. Nobody is supposed to be that confident. There's supposed to be a lot of gray area. The true measure of a refined, intelligent person is to admit that he may not be right. And this attitude, by the way, has infected much of conservatism. If I may make a brief stream of consciousness departure here. What I mean by this is, how many times do you pick up a conservative opinion piece? And it reads something like this. I think X, but I understand why the people who don't think X think Y, and I am perfectly understanding, and I am perfectly willing to tolerate. They may have a point. They could very well be right, but I maintain that my position on X is what it should be. But if they don't agree, the last thing I want to do is try to force them to. So while I see point X, I even see people that disagree with both of us. I can understand all points of view on this. I really do think that I'm right, but I don't want to go to the mat on it. That is considered sophistication. That is considered open-mindedness. That is considered an acknowledgement that you don't know it all, which is supposedly the right way to be. And of course, when I think I know something, I say I think I know it, and I don't hedge it. And that just, it off-puts a lot of people. I'm just telling you, when I get into one of those modes, do not doubt me, as is the case here. Yesterday, Ted Cruz was big news on the program because he had proposed something that had already been implemented. He suggested that it be re-implemented. And that was the NYPD surveilling and paying attention to, monitoring, whatever you want to say, Muslim neighborhoods to try to find any evidence that there might be bomb-making activity, terrorism being planned, or what have you. It was a plan that had already been implemented during the Bush administration in cahoots with the New York City Police Department and the mayor. And it had been allowed to end, I think, or if it didn't end, it certainly faded away at some point. And Cruz, in the reaction to what had happened in Brussels, said, "Hey, it's time to bring this kind of stuff back. I mean, this is very." You remember the everybody. You can't do the way you wouldn't even. That's not our values. That's not who we are. All of this rot. People just had a cow over it, which is why I went back and found the original news stories in the AP back in 2011 describing how the plan worked. And it not just was the NYPD surveilling these neighborhoods; it was the CIA helping them. And it happened under Obama. Started under Bush, Obama continued it, and here's Cruz merely suggesting that something that already had been be re-implemented, and everybody was having a cow over this. But Cruz didn't back down, and in fact, there's more to this. He was on Bloomberg's All Due Respect on TV last night. Mark Halperin said to him, "What would you say to a young child who would see policemen in their neighborhood and wondering why is their neighborhood, a young Muslim child, getting increased security?" What this is about is, I made a point yesterday, these moderate, peace-loving Muslims, wouldn't they welcome a police presence in their neighborhood if it was designed to keep the neighborhood safe, if it was designed to root out terrorists, criminals, bad actors? Because we're told that moderate mainstream Muslims want no part of terrorism. We are told, in fact, that terrorism is not something to do with Islam. Even though terrorists commit their acts of terror in the name of Islam, we are told that Islam is a religion of peace, that there is no terrorism. And this is what Obama tells us. I'm not making this up. This is what Obama says, is what Hillary says, is what all the leftists and even some queasy Republicans eagerly point out. No, Islam, the religion of peace. There would not be Quran. There's no terrorism. Of course, it's not true. But let's say that it is true. If it's religion of peace, and terrorism has nothing to do with Islam, it's just that terrorists hide in Muslim neighborhoods. If you're a peace-loving Muslim, wouldn't you welcome an effort by law enforcement to root out that kind of thing from your neighborhood? That's a question I raised. And that's what Halperin's asking Cruz here in a disagreeing way. Well, what would you say to a young child who would see one of these policemen in the neighborhood, wondering why is the policeman in their neighborhood? A young Muslim child getting increased scrutiny. Don't you see how they could be suspicious of this?
New York had in place a very effective program to work cooperatively with the Muslim community to monitor and prevent radicalization and to prevent Islamic terror attacks from occurring before they happen. Now, unfortunately, Mayor de Blasio came into office, and he's every bit as captive to political correctness as is Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, and they disbanded the program. The police are here to protect us. I categorically reject the view of Democrats that the police are the bad guys. When we have police in a community, it protects that community and keeps it safe.
And it's hard to disagree with that, but people do. And I will acknowledge that there are many communities who think the police are not there but to do anything but catch people and put them in jail. I understand people think that. It's a really sad thing that view of the police has taken hold in so much of America, because it isn't true. Try living without them. Try living in any community without. Try there being nobody at the end of the phone when you call 911. Try it. You want them back within seconds of them leaving the neighborhood. But civil rights coalitions combined with the Democrat Party have worked their magic and have got everybody thinking that the cops are what caused all the problems in Ferguson and Baltimore and Oakland and wherever else. Los Angeles, you name it. The cops are the problem. But you try living in any neighborhood anywhere without them, and you'll want them back before the day is over. Now, last night in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, there was a campaign event, Insight 2016. One little more soundbite here from Ted Cruz.
I'm so sorry to be dismaying Barack Obama. And, you know, yesterday and today, I was attacked by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio, which suggests maybe I'm doing something right.
It wasn't just those. I mean, it was the entire leftist power structure that went after Cruz, and many Republicans did too, went after Cruz on this. And that's why I spent so much time yesterday trying to tell people, hey, this is not Cruz's idea. This is an idea that was hatched and implemented under George W. Bush and continued by Barack Obama. Barack Obama had a chance to get rid of the program, and he didn't. He kept it in place. Barack Obama's the guy, almost personally, flying drones over the Middle East, looking at people to kill based on his decision to kill them. He's in charge of the kill list. If the world is our neighborhood, Obama clearly is surveilling it. And under the same premises, that Cruz suggested neighborhoods be surveilled in the United States. With all these refugees coming in, with all the illegal immigrants pouring in, tell me it doesn't make sense. Here, let me give you a story. Just happens to coincide with this. The headline says it all. 3 Washington, D.C. students arrested with bomb-making equipment in dorm room. I wonder what their names are. Doesn't say. George Mason University, located in Fairfax, Virginia, outside Washington. It's been the site of jihadi organizing and recruitment in recent years and even months. 3 students were arrested with bomb-making equipment in dorm rooms, and their names have not been released. They have not been identified. Why not? You know, it's any time there's a political scandal, a Democrat's involved, you'll never read that he's a Democrat. They never put that in the story. Why? Well, because they're a bunch of hypocrites. The only time scandals are worthwhile is when the Republicans commit them and they can get them out of office or otherwise render them impotent. They have their belief system, so if you're out there, if you believe that Islam is a religion of peace and Islam has nothing to do with Islamic terrorism, and if you're out publicly saying so and you're out trying to convince people, don't fall into Al-Qaeda, these guys, they're abusing a great religion. They're not really Islamists. They're not really Muslim. And then 3 students arrested with bomb-making equipment in a dorm room, and they happen to be Muslim. Of course you're not going to mention their name. Makes you look bad. So that's what everybody's going to conclude. You don't publish their name, it must be you're trying to cover for the fact that you're wrong about something. This is a Breitbart story, by the way. 3 Washington, D.C. students arrested, bomb-making equipment in dorm room. The AP reporting the 3 George Mason University students have been arrested for allegedly possessing... Oh, and you know what? There's another story in here, folks, about how we have rounded up U.S. Marshals arrest 13,000 in sweep targeting worst violent offenders. 13,000 individuals with open warrants as part of a national operation aimed at targeting the worst of the worst, and yet we're told we cannot round up illegal aliens in the shadows.
Unfiltered and unstoppable. Rush on the EIB network.
My good buddies at Mahindra make the world's #1 selling tractor, but now they also make a whole family of utility vehicles, too. Just like their tractors, Mahindra's Impact XTV utility vehicles deliver superior performance with industry-leading cargo capacity, towing capacity, ground clearance, and a 3-year warranty. And the Mahindra Impact XTV is made right here in the USA in Mahindra Red or Camo. And here's the best part. You can choose between $1,250 in cash back and savings, or 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest until 2017. Now, if you want to work smarter, not harder, with a new Impact, learn more at MahindraUSA.com.
Take advantage of rock-bottom prices and test drive a Mahindra today at All Seasons Equipment in Eugene, or visit allseasonsequipment.net. That's allseasonsequipment.net.
Are you hiring? Do you know where to post your job to find the best candidates? Posting your job in one place isn't enough to find quality candidates. If you want to find the perfect hire, you need to post your job on all the top job sites. And now you can. With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter, all with a single click. Find candidates in any city or industry nationwide. Just post once and watch your qualified candidates roll in to ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. No juggling emails or calls to your office. Quickly screen candidates, rate them, and hire the right person fast. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 400,000 businesses. And right now, listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/rush. That's ZipRecruiter.com/rush. One more time. To try it for free, go to ZipRecruiter.com/rush.
I'm Steve Sidkowski, a former Wall Street insider. Right now, I'm holding a book that could change your life. It will show you investing strategies which could help you earn the kind of money you've always dreamed about. And right now, I'm giving this book away for free. So who needs to read it? If you're in the middle of your career and you worry you'll never have enough money to retire, you need to read this book. If you're already retired and your income isn't enough, you need to read this book. And if you don't want to be selling burgers at the age of 80, well, you need to read this free book. The reality is, you'll need at least $1 million to ever fully retire. If you're behind on that goal, you really need to read Trade Like the Pros. And you can for free by calling 1-800-700-2114. Are you skeptical that it will deliver results? It's a free book, so what do you have to lose? Find out how at 1-800-700-2114. That's 1-800-700-2114. 1-800-700-2114.
Message and data rates may apply.
If you're a guy over 40 and you want to stay on top of your game, try a sample bottle of GNC's top-selling, award-winning Nugenix. Listen, if you're experiencing lower sex drive, general sluggishness, and decreased performance, Nugenix is a powerful man-boosting formula. For 2013, it won GNC's Innovative Product of the Year and was also named GNC's #1 selling men's vitality product. Get a complimentary bottle now by texting BOOST30 to 99000. Nugenix uses a clinically researched key ingredient to invigorate a man's body and increase his libido. Enjoy more passion, higher sex drive, improved performance. Be more the man you want to be in the gym and in the bedroom. You want to stay on top of your game, don't you? Then try top-selling, award-winning Nugenix and feel like the best man you can be. Nugenix is available at GNC and Vitamin Shop, but you can only get your complimentary bottle by texting BOOST30 to 99000. Again, text BOOST30 to 99000.
Rush Limbaugh now. Lars Larson today at noon. Only on 1120 KPNW.
Yes, I've seen it. Who hasn't seen it? Pictures of Obama in Argentina dancing the tango after watching a baseball game. You have not seen it? Okay, good. There's Obama dancing with, looks like professional Argentinian dancers. And Muchel, my belle, was also dancing with a professional male dancer in Argentina, doing the tango. He's celebrating. So here's the guy who first appears underneath a mural image of Che Guevara. That's on purpose. Probably that photo will hang in his presidential library. It'll hang in his own personal library. It'll hang in his house. Probably one of the proudest photos Obama ever has. A picture of him in Cuba underneath the mural of Che Guevara. It's not an unfortunate optic. It was mission accomplished. It's an in-your-face optic. So here's Obama at a baseball game while Brussels burns, and now he's on the dance floor doing the tango in Argentina while terrorism continues to be robust and enhance and express itself in even greater numbers. And this is the transformation he promised. This is exactly what Obama set out to produce here, folks. This kind of chaos, upsetting the old order of things. That's why he's not coming back. He's not upset by it.
From the KPNW News Center, here's what's going on. Over the course of a year, Oregon became home to thousands more people. Oregon's population grew 1.5% within a year, nearly returning to growth rates from before the recession. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Lane added about 4,400 people over the period. A Salem man who kidnapped his grandmother for 12 hours while holding a knife to his throat made a court appearance but refused to talk to his attorney, so the judge sent Robert White back to jail. His mother, Debbie White Tate, says that she blames herself for his drug problems.
You know, when I was pregnant with Robert, I used drugs intravenously every single day, and I'm very ashamed of that. Very ashamed.
The man's grandmother was unhurt after being rescued by sheriff's deputies. A Coast Guard helicopter crew rescued a 16-year-old boy who fell 200 feet while hiking near Multnomah Falls. The teen from Troutdale fell near the the top of Angel's Rest Trailhead. Officials say he suffered injuries to his head and spine. Bill Lennon, KPNW.
Get set to save now at your local Kubota dealer. Take command of your lawn care tasks with the new Kubota Commander zero-turn mower. Get commercial-grade performance and a full 4-year factory warranty at a price you can afford. Now, during the Get Set to Save sales event, get special introductory pricing of $38.99 and 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Now through March 31st, 2016. Call toll-free 1-888-465-8268 for details about cost and terms. See Mid-Valley Tractor on Highway 99. Great prices, great products from people you can trust.
Michelob Ultra is more than a superior light beer. It's taken in all life has to offer, like catching a wave or biking a long trail. And when you're done, you reach for a cold Michelob Ultra. Fewer carbs, fewer calories, more to look forward to. Michelob Ultra. Long live the ultra life. Enjoy responsibly. Michelob Ultra Light Beer, 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, 0.6 grams protein, and 0 grams fat per 12-ounce serving. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Not available in California. Here's a great idea for a business. Health food in vending machines. Who doesn't want healthier choices? Imagine the money you could make. Well, guess what? The guys at Fresh Healthy Vending have already thought of it, which explains why they're the #1 healthy vending franchise, with thousands of franchisee-owned vending machines offering people what they want most, healthier snacks. Could you be our next new franchisee? Because we've identified high-traffic locations and have machines ready to be installed in your community, this is your chance for full or part-time income. Most of our franchisees work fewer than 15 hours a week, and many are so impressed with the money they're making that they've added even more machines to their business. And we do all the work for you. We procure high-foot traffic locations, train you, install your machines, and deliver thousands of best-selling natural, organic, and healthy snacks and drinks nationwide. So go to readyforfresh.com right now. Type in promo code 4646 and receive an immediate 50% savings on franchise fees. That's right, we'll pay half of new franchisees' fees. That's promo code 4646. Again, readyforfresh.com 4646.
Think you're fat? You might just be bloated. Find out by calling now for a free trial of New Biotics, the new breakthrough that flattens bloated bellies fast. For a free trial, call 1-800-992-2821. Strict limit of 1 per household.
I used to be plagued by potbelly and constant bloating. After taking New Biotics, my belly flattened and continues to get flatter. My sense of bloating and discomfort is gone.
If you've got a big belly, you might not be fat. You might just be bloated. New Biotics is scientifically formulated with natural ingredients to flatten bloated bellies fast by cleansing pounds of rotting food and toxic sludge from your body. It even combats periodic heartburn and acid reflux. If your belly flattening results are too dramatic, simply reduce use to every other day. Think you might be bloated? See how much flatter New Biotics makes your belly. But hurry, call now for details while we're still giving it away for free. 1-800-992-2821. That's 1-800-992-2821. 1-800-992-2821.
Rush Limbaugh and breaking news when it happens. News Radio 1120 KPNW.
The views expressed by the host on this show, documented to be almost always right 99.8% of the time. That translates to don't doubt me. Great to have you here. So would you agree with me that we're looking at presidential passivity regarding ISIS? Here's Brussels burning and on fire. And by the way, Brussels is not just a place. Again, Brussels is the headquarters of the World Court. Brussels is the headquarters of NATO. Brussels is the headquarters of the European Union. It was not accidental that ISIS targeted Brussels and the specific areas in Brussels. Brussels is the seat of socialist Europe. Brussels, in many estimates, is nirvana, is utopia. Brussels is the ideal. Brussels is the gathering place for all of the smart people. Brussels is where the sophisticated and the educated and the elite of the world gather to solve all problems. Well, there's also The Hague over there in the Netherlands, but you can't put everything in one basket. But Brussels contains the spot where all of these people of a certain mindset, a certain education, a certain ideological bent, it's where they all go when it's time to get together to plan solutions to international and global events. The best, the brightest, the most sophisticated, the people of the best breeding, people who come from the best families. In some cases in the UK, those from the aristocracy, those from the House of Lords. These are the best and the brightest, the smartest. These are the people who design life for the rest of the people of the world who are not anywhere near qualified. And ISIS hit it. ISIS hit the European Union and the way to get to it. And where is President Obama, who, by the way, looks at Brussels in much the same way I just described? Now, where's Obama? He continued to stay in Cuba, sitting next to Raul Castro at a baseball game. And then it's on to Argentina for flamingo dancing, tangos, and whatever else with the leaders of that country. Total passivity, total uninterest or disinterest, depending on how you like to use the word. But whatever, it was Alfred E. Newman. What, me worry? I'll send Kerry. That's what I'll do. I'll send Lorch. I'll send my Secretary of State to show that I'm concerned about this. There has been an overall passivity shown toward ISIS by President Obama, whether in the Middle East and now in Europe. ISIS is moving west, folks. ISIS has no doubt infiltrated our country. We would be fools to not think so. We would be foolish to not realize the possibility, the reality. So we are witnessing worldwide aggression by an expanding terror organization. While the President of the United States, which automatically conferred upon him the leader of the free world, appears to be uninterested, appears to be unconcerned. And I'm not saying this just because he doesn't pick up and leave and go to Brussels or come back to Washington. Certainly that's part of it, but you can tell by listening to him talk about it's just not something that has him concerned. He has never been proactive in taking on ISIS. In fact, he goes to great pains to create optics demonstrating almost a laissez-faire attitude towards all of terrorism. Gets close to saying that people oriented toward stopping terrorism are a little bit extreme. They're a little bit excessive. It's not that bad. We've got to think positive. It's a little pocket of it here, he says, a little pocket of it there. Obama says the world is getting better. The world is getting safer. And everybody scratches their heads. But nobody stops to think of the context in which he makes these statements. The world's getting better. Well, to certain people, all of this happening, and to whom it is happening, could maybe equal the world getting better. What if you happen to believe that Europeans are reprobates because they were colonialists, and they branched out from their home countries in the UK and elsewhere, and went to other parts of the world, the subcontinent? They went to Africa, they went to Australia, and they colonized, and they basically took over, and they imposed themselves on otherwise sovereign peoples. And what if you have harbored a deep-seated resentment for that from the first day you were taught about it? And what if ISIS attacking Europe, and what about massive Islamic extremist immigration in Germany and Sweden and Denmark? What if you think that is the world getting